right, we got Frank Bell here. Thank you for coming in. You're a very busy man doing a lot of busy things.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. You have no idea how much I appreciate it.
The one thing I wanted to ask you, what is the indie era? I have no idea what that is.
The what?
Indie era?
When you're talking about the magazines?
Yeah.
That was, let's say, I guess around 84 to 90. A lot of self-produced magazines were coming out, small batch stuff. Tower Records and Books carried a bunch of them, but mostly it was you heard about it from somebody, and then you sent somebody a letter and sent them $10, and they would put it out. It was music reviews, and then it was opinion pieces and movie reviews, things like that. Film Threat, if you remember Film Threat magazine, they started out pretty much like that, and then Larry Flint Publications took in and put money into them, and they went mainstream. But it was a response to the lack of diversity in print work at the time. Sort of like these kind of shows are now, as in response to just total vanilla of the mainstream media stuff.
So it was like, the indie era was like magazines that weren't bullshit.
Yeah,
versus the bullshit.
Yeah, if it was a time where like punk was almost over at that point, but whatever was coming out that hadn't been it was not being promoted by CBS or whoever it was. And you say, this is back at a time like where we lived at then. People would take a weekend and go to New York City to a record store to buy the import records. That's how. And they'd come back and say, oh, this is a great thing. And they'd tell 4 friends, and then they'd meet somebody at some other dance or something, and it would continue. And then they just started writing reviews and things like that. And there were so many people that at that time were in the art schools in our area that learned the desktop publishing, because with the advent of the little iMac and all that kind of thing, all this stuff was able to take off. Before that, it was, typewritten pages in the copy machine and all that kind of thing.
Copy machine.
But they were good because it was something you wanted to talk about. And there were some political things, of course, but that all was like the music and the art was being driven at that time by these small things. And then, like I said, Tower was smart enough to pick up on them. And they would have the section where they'd have whatever, Kerrang, and all that kind of stuff. And then there'd be these other little magazines in there. And if nobody ever really got paid. The whole thing was to cover your costs to go to the next one. So I was lucky enough to work with a couple guys. Philadelphia, we had like 15 different magazines coming out.
Really?
Because there were that many. We had a number of art schools. We had a lot of good artists at the time. And they just weren't getting seen by anybody.
So the indie era magazine, that's basically where let's just say like the big time guys, like NBC, whoever else, they're not promoting it. They're not even recognizing them. So then the indie magazine comes out, which recognizes the people that weren't recognized.
Yeah.
Am I following you right?
Yeah. So you'd have, Dead Milkmen, if you remember the Dead Milkmen.
Yeah,
they would come out of something like that. I'm just thinking of Philadelphia type things because, Philadelphia.
Do you remember the Milkmen, Rob?
Fear, going further back, all the decline of Western Black Flag, Fear, Alien Sex Fiend, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was coming from that area, the whatever amount of states area. And then it would go national, and then you'd have people that were following the European sounds, even to a point like there was something like the Test Department, which was like really, you'd have to hear that one to hear it. But then it started getting very specific, and then you had like the goth magazines, and everybody had their own
like section, right?
Yeah, their own little thing going, and they were happy with that because if that's what you identified with, boom, you had something specifically for you. You didn't have to rely on maybe getting, an eighth of an inch in whatever GQ if you're lucky.
Yeah,
because that was the dream. Everyone wanted to end up working for.
Yeah, like a GQ or a men's magazine or something like that type of thing.
They paid so much better. Playboy, I think at that time when I was doing it, everybody's dream was Playboy because they paid the most, and it was the most prestigious magazine to be in. If you wrote for them, you were made.
What'd they pay? Like roughly?
I forget. At that time, they used to put out a book you could get every year that had the price, pretty much the prices that the magazines were paying.
Wow.
And you just say, "Oh, I'll shoot for these guys," and
So
you took any review. Like when I had the Tower one, it was going to go to Condé Nast, And I was trying for GQ at that time, but a couple things happened and just didn't come together.
What happened with GQ? That would have been a big one.
Well, that was at the time when it became more about shaving.
Oh, okay.
It was, I guess in the 90s, they were going for a whole other market.
Yeah.
And it was like the deep, dark secrets behind depilatories and how not to have a bumpy shave and things like that.
And what were you going for?
I came out of it at that time, it was like Hunter Thompson was a big thing for us. And the whole, still a lot of the punk stuff. But Thompson especially, because, you would have to go live it. Not like being a tourist like they do these days. I'm going to go to Bali for the weekend, and I'll tell you about the horrors of the Uyghurs in China, because I can sort of think I'm there.
Yeah.
The old, like...
now, who's Hunter Thompson? I don't know. Do you know?
The Gonzo journalist, the famous Bill Murray did a film of him where the buffalo roam. They did Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp.
Now you're making me feel real stupid.
Yeah, he was.
What was the movie called?
Well, the book was Fear and Loathing, and then the movie was Fear and Loathing with Terry Gilliam directing it.
And Johnny
Depp and Benicio del Toro, which just became a nightmare, I guess, for everybody who invested in it. And earlier was a movie called Where the Buffalo Roam, which was Bill Murray. And forget what his first name was, something Boyle. He was the creature in Young Frankenstein. Peter Boyle?
Peter Boyle?
I'll go with
We can Google and see who
that
is.
But that was, framing some of the stuff that Thompson was involved in. He wrote the book on the Hells Angels.
Okay.
That was his breakthrough, was this Hells Angels book. And how he felt it identified with the transitional people in the United States and, from like the time of the Oklahoma Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
And all that kind of thing, and the freewheeling people.
Okay, so this is Peter Boyle?
Yeah, he played Laszlo. He played his attorney.
You remember him from what?
I remember him from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, yeah.
He was in Everybody Loves Raymond? Really?
Yeah, he was pretty good in that film, but that was, Thompson was going around California.
From Norristown, PA.
Yeah, Norristown, Pennsylvania, too.
There you go. Oh, he's dead. How about that?
Shit. Well,
don't go see him at dinner theater, right?
I don't think you're going to run into him.
I don't really keep, it's my older cousin's the one who watches the obituaries, not me.
And then you started doing film in LA, right?
Now, I got involved in like just screenwriting stuff when I was at Temple. A friend of mine at the time.
Temple Owls, yeah.
Go Owls. Temple of Doom. I was there when we had the strike. It took us 5 years to graduate because they wouldn't reset the schedule. They had to make you go another year.
They did what?
The teachers went on strike.
Okay.
And instead of just skipping that semester and continuing,
yeah,
they didn't do that. They continued the year the way it was on paper.
Oh,
so
wow.
If you were trying to graduate, you couldn't get the classes that you needed
to graduate.
So I ended up having to stay till like into the summer. We were all like 5 year.
That's some bad.
We would have been 5 years anyway. There's a lot of partying at that time. The school's gotten very. When I was leaving, they had just started all the political correctness, and they were forcing people to take classes on cultural awareness and stuff like that, which is. I don't understand it because honestly, I don't even need to give him a shout out. A fella in my fraternity, I had Coleman Domingo, who's in Fear the Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. If you've seen The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead on AMC.
Yeah. He's I don't know what character he plays. He was the wealthy guy who's like, guess kind of evil.
Yeah, what's his name?
Coleman Domingo.
He
was in The Help. He did a lot of Spike Lee stuff. He's done a lot of one-man shows and all that. And if you see his resume, and you see we didn't need to have any diversity training.
Yeah.
Guys like Coleman are in there. Oh, I remember him. Yeah, that's him. One of the best actors out there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Why he doesn't? Why
I
they
knew
haven't
the name,
given
but I
him
couldn't picture him.
Yeah, he's. I guess you'd say he's almost a character actor at this point.
Yeah.
But he can carry anything on his own. I don't even really talk to him. I'm just saying I know it as his talent is there.
Another Philly guy. Look. Mm-hmm.
And when I did a show for him, he did a read-through of one of his one-man shows. We did it at a place off South Street because he had never done a show in Philadelphia. When I was bringing him in to do that show, I called Temple up and said, hey, at that time Coleman had done The Help or something. He'd been in a few.
Like little things.
But they were big movies.
Yeah.
And he had also done a few of these one-man shows. He used to do Maya Angelou on the Q channel.
Okay.
That was his like breakout bit. He was in that musical called Passing Strange, which was done in New York for a while. He was in the Scottsboro Boys.
I know that one, yeah.
So he was in a lot of stuff. And I called up the theater group. I said, hey, Coleman's going to be in town. Do you want him to come in and do, an hour with your students? Wouldn't take him.
Really?
Because he went to the RTF program. He was not a theater major.
Oh, and what's the RTF program?
Rather than fail. Radio, television, and film.
Oh, Jesus. So that's why
I think that's what he was in. I know he wasn't in theater.
And now he ends up on The Walking Dead.
So there he is doing all
monster.
this. And because of Temple being the people that run some of our departments being such assholes, if I was a student that wanted to be a working actor, this man's worked for 20-some years. I mean, he's worked. He's made money.
Had patience.
He's done it all. He sings, he dances, he acts, he can do comedy, he can do all that stuff. I would want to have him come in and do an hour with me and explain something. Temple didn't want any part of it.
Just because he didn't have that one.
Basically, that was the thing. Yeah, and he was overkill compared to the teachers.
Oh, so envy, jealousy.
It was really sad. But that's like, you're doing the stuff now with the entertainment business isn't about the best and brightest.
That's cool when that happens, though, because when they screw somebody like that and then he makes it to the top like he did, that's awesome to see. You know what I mean?
If he's like one away from, I don't want to say like a buddy film, but he's one away from those double-digit million paydays, and then when that happens, he'll be impossible to deal with when Temple calls him.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, he went to school here. Oh, let's try to get him on the phone. And, they'll do the runaround for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they'll ask him to submit like a floor plan of the seating and all this kind of.
They'll have to try to get Bill Cosby instead.
Oh, yeah, Cosby. He was huge when I was there. But we had a few like that, and the school in general just did not.
I could see him doing like a Marvel comic eventually. Yeah. Like I could see him doing something like that. Now he does that, it's over. Get out of the way.
And the voice is really good.
Yeah.
He talks like that all the time. People think that
that's his voice normally?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And like I said, we did that show. It was a little place, Society Hill Playhouse. And it was just hey, we can do it. We can pay for it. It'll be covered. The lady, I knew a lady at the time, and she did it for us. And it was just, it's the right thing to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And at that point, his career had nothing to do with us. His career was already taking off.
Yeah, he was already there.
But this would be the last time that you could do that without an agent stepping in.
Oh, yeah.
And being like, hey, I don't give a shit what that guy wants to do. Because that's how a lot of the agents are.
Yeah.
Like, we're at a cocktail meeting or something. Hey, would you like to do? Oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah, give me a call, And I call his house, and the assistant says, oh, no, you have to call creative artists.
And then once you do get in, it's 70-30, the agent's way? And then after the taxes, then you got to pay for your own stuff. It's I don't know how they make any money. Unless you hit huge, right?
Yeah, well, they're I don't really know, but his thing is he was always smart enough. He did a lot of, and it's good for people that want to act. That's like I was saying to him before. There's a lot of different things that we should be taking away when you see case. It's like a case study. Mm-hmm. What made him stand out? There was a lot of other people. He had a lot against him. He was a openly gay black man, which is not a big thing to be.
Yeah.
At that time period, people are like, "Oh, it's great." Nah, it's not really what you think it is.
Yeah, people say that.
It looks nice when you're role playing it. But I'm sure, I don't know. But I know that was a big, because he's talked about it in some of his shows. But he was able to overcome it. And I don't think it was really through any special treatment. It was just sheer
hard
professionalism.
Work. Yeah. I don't see how else he could have done it.
Yeah.
I mean, because he would have to be extremely patient, be able to take the shit that I'm sure people talked. You're with other actors. Yeah. The second he goes out, they're talking shit behind his back.
Oh, and those parts.
And he kept chugging along. You know what I mean?
And he wasn't playing like I don't want to turn the whole show into like the Coleman special, but but he's not playing like oh my God, he's not playing Nathan Lane.
Yeah,
he's not Harvey Fierstein. He's not Nathan Lane. He's somebody who's got
hello, Frank.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's not doing that. And granted, like I said, he did the Maya Angelou thing. But other than that, straight up really good actor. Not that not that it's doing anything for any of us, but if you're ever out in the vineyard, you could find him. He's probably wandering loose in outside of San Francisco. I think they're all up in that area, Marin County or something like that.
How about Lorenzo's Pizza on South Street?
That was good. I like Lazaro, which
You like
is
Lazaro?
further up, but they're suspiciously possibly not Italian.
Is that up? That's up, right? Like
in the
2 blocks up?
It's up in the teens, and I don't know if they were Turks or what those guys are.
Yeah, I'm a Lorenzo's guy.
Yeah.
I'm a Lorenzo's guy and Jim Steaks.
Well, they set that on fire.
With no onions. Yeah, they set it on fire. Yeah, they rebuilt it, and you would think that they would make it bigger because it's so small.
No.
And the pizza shop's very small for people who don't know Philly. But they got the best pizza. I mean, they take it and they flip the end of it over at the back, and they burnt the motherfucker down. And, they got the insurance money, and you think that they would at least expand it where you could sit there. And it's the same size. It's just nicer tile.
I think the old man was the brains of the operation.
Yeah, I would.
The grandchildren don't really look like they were going to solve the world's problems.
No, the granddaughter just stands there and just goes like this all day long.
And the steak guy used to get robbed all the time because they
Jim
knew
Steaks?
he carried cash in a brown paper bag out the side door at the same time every day. Yeah.
Wow.
My friend has the tattoo parlor across the street, Eddie's.
Oh, wow, really?
And Jerry says, he just got robbed again. I was like, what? He said, well, they constantly rob that guy.
What the fuck?
He
was he worked for NBC and Fox up there in Philly, so he did a lot of he had the camera, the big ass, the heavy ass camera on. You never heard of that?
Just
it was probably a quiet,
little handgun. Nobody, they weren't murdering anybody.
Yeah.
Who knows? It could have been a friend of a friend.
Probably was supposed to kick up and didn't kick up.
Something, yeah. But they, that area is famous for adding a quick 80 pounds on you.
Yeah.
All through there into South. Johnny's was ours. Johnny's roast pork.
Yeah.
But they don't get the credit. It's always Geno's and Pat's. And now
I don't like Geno's and Pat's. I don't like that flat steak. I don't like it. Yeah. I like my steak chopped up.
If you're drunk or high at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Doesn't. Yeah.
It's the only place.
Yeah, I've gone there plenty of times.
It's the only place it's going to be available.
Hidden gem is Del Sandro's hidden gem.
Yeah.
Del Sandro's? Have you ever been there?
I know it.
What section is that? It's like north. I can't remember the name of the section of town. Yeah.
I don't know where that one is.
Well, they're getting to be fewer and further between because the rental prices. Those guys. It turns out it's amazing how many of these old traditional places were renting. You think that they own it, like even near Sarcone's, the bakery.
Yeah.
They were going to close that down because the value of the property had gotten so much that the kids are lazy, obviously.
Yeah.
And they don't want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and make bread. They'd rather just sell the thing to some hipsters and turn it into townhouses. That whole, there's nothing left at this. I don't think De Bruno's would be the only Italian-ish
place that there's
in the Italian market because it's mostly Vietnamese. And that's been all those cities are like that now. I remember telling the guy just 2 days ago, they used to have fights between the neighborhoods. A street blocked off at this block, and you walked across into that. And this is before my parents' era. People getting fights. Gray's Ferry in the South Philadelphia.
Yeah. That
famous video of the guy, I'm from 12th and Annan, whatever that one was, and the guy knocks him out. And these are two adults. These guys are in their 50s or 60s.
Going at it.
Because of the 12th and Annan thing.
It's so crazy.
It's a guy unconscious.
I'm so happy to be in Florida. I'm so happy to be in Florida.
Well, it's they don't have that, closeness here. You can, there's no, there's ethnically dominated areas, but they're not like we had it in New York or Philadelphia or, believe it or not, at Baltimore, I think at one point, 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But, anyways, we had a lot of talent. That's what I was telling them before is like we have with the boxing. We have an incredible amount of boxing talent. They can't get out of the city. They have to fight each other all the time at the amateur level. Now we just had Jerron Ennis fight this weekend, demolish this kid. So Jerron is going to be...
Now, why can't they get out of the city? When you say they can't get out of the city...
It's really, I guess comes down to how the amateur program's put together.
Oh, okay.
And it really needs to, like you said, it's very similar like the UFC, that nobody really worries about you till you can make them money.
Yeah.
And it'll probably get me yelled at. I have to go back up there in May. Somehow somebody will hear about this and they'll be like, oh, you go in the gym and like somebody will hit me with a barbell from behind or something. No, they get like that. They find these things out.
Do you think Tyson and Holyfield will fight?
I guess the money's right. They're doing like heavy sparring, pretty much, you could say.
Yeah.
No one's going to knock each other out at this late date.
No, I don't think so either.
You know, it's because boxing is, you know, they've killed boxing.
Yeah.
Boxing was killing boxing with Don King.
Yeah.
UFC shows up and sucks off half the blood sport people, you know, who weren't really worried about the sweet science, as they would say, right?
Yeah.
They just want to see some, you know, they watch two chickens fight.
Yeah.
You know,
they'll watch anything.
And that was the issue. And the promoters it was almost like, I guess almost like how they killed music. The promoters have no reason to develop talent. They'll just take whatever's there and they'll run it into the ground.
Yeah.
And the talent's not trying to develop a fan base. I mean, I've had talks with a number of guys in that area, and I said to them, you know, look, you got to go on the Instagram. I mean, I don't want to do Instagram. I'm training. I don't care what you're doing. Get your girlfriend or your brother or your manager or whoever, develop like 100,000 followers. That's a good number. So then you can go to whatever company it is you need to get something from, and cut down on your overhead, because at the amateur level, it's just money going out.
Yeah, because you got to pay for everything.
And if you want to go, like when I do a little something with these guys, like I'm doing something with a young kid now, his name's Salim Bey, and he wouldn't be in time for this Olympics, but I'd like to see if he's going to be around for the next one. There's a couple of kids in town there. Johnny Rivera is good. He should go to the Olympics, not this year, but the next one. I'd like to see him there. He's another, and they have a good dynamic where the father works with them.
Yeah.
Keeps them straight. There's no drugs. There's no crimes.
Keeps them in line on the right path.
Because there's so, you know, especially in certain neighborhoods, there's so much pressure on them not to succeed, but to do other dumb shit.
Yeah.
So it's a full-time job with the training, and then it's a full-time job just making sure trouble doesn't come to them. Right. You don't have to go looking for trouble.
No.
Trouble will find you.
Especially now more than ever.
And you know, that's why I was hoping to see them expand some of these programs, and it's just not happening, because we get a chance. We're trying to put together the guns down, hands up thing again.
Oh, fuck.
To do just enough to get some awareness out there, because, and I don't even live up there, but I think Philadelphia had 500 murders this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad.
Compared to the size of Chicago or Detroit.
Yeah.
They're killing, and that's gun murders.
Yeah.
That's not your old friend butcher knife.
I have a very good friend in Chicago, and he won't even take his son to the subway. Like, you know, 'cause his son likes the subway, you know, he's younger.
Yeah.
He likes to just ride the subway. Like, they just ride it for something to fucking do.
It's fun.
He won't even go there because they're just whacking people left and right in that subway station. And nobody does anything. And the cops don't come because, shit, they don't want to get shot for $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you want to defund them.
Well, you know, that's going to, and it all, I guess, all ties together at some point, but our whole thing is just to try to keep, and there's, honestly, if anybody's watching this, there's a guy named Jerome Conquest, who's also a boxer. They just did a documentary film on him called The Conqueror. Did really well in Europe. It's in a couple of the film festivals. And Jerome went into fighting because his best friend was murdered during one of these big violence sprees in Philadelphia. He's out there with his own money, arranging for any kind of events he can think of for his neighborhoods. He's in the section called Strawberry Mansion. Mm-hmm. He's out there doing clean streets programs, usually alone at first. And then he gets more people, but he's got Chick-fil-A with him. He's got a car dealership and a few other people. We're trying to get Wawa because,
Wawa.
Wawa's the seal of approval.
Yeah, he loves Wawa.
Yeah, the Gobbler.
Wawa.
Quote, your new code name is the Gobbler.
Chick-fil-A is that has got to be the busiest place I've ever seen. I never thought I'd see something busier than McDonald's. Mm-hmm. Chick-fil-A is constantly packed, constantly.
The one down near us is a training center, so everybody's even more excruciatingly nice than they would be at any of the other ones.
Do you know the guy that owns that?
I don't know him personally, no.
But I mean, I forget. he like doesn't. There's something with him.
They were Christians, but they don't bring it up in the store.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't bring it up in the store, but like he'll only hire Christians, right? And he doesn't.
No, he can't do that. It'd be discriminatory.
That's just what
he promotes a family atmosphere. They used to have those greeters. Have you been to the one that has the greeter?
Yeah.
The one that was the training facility, that guy was like the trainer of other greeters. I forget what his name is, tall fella. People used to bring him Christmas cards. Like my mom's in there talking to him, and she's like, "Oh, it's people just walking up giving him Christmas cards because he had like a very good memory, and a lot of people eat there a lot."
Yeah.
So he'd be like, "Hey, Mary, how you been?" You know,
when somebody remembers your name like that, it's huge.
It was like a concierge, but their business model, they survived cancel culture. In fact, they actually made money on it.
Yeah, they did.
You know, they went after them pretty hard, and didn't do anything.
No,
that's really because their thing is a distribution issue. Like we have, even when you're doing the dumb little thing like I do, the distribution is the impossible thing. You know, you have it, I'm sure, with YouTube.
Yeah.
I went over that with Rustin just today again. That you're in a really good. That's why I was congratulating. You're in a really good number situation. Anyone who wasn't at like your number before the hammer fell, we're always going to be like double digit.
Yeah.
Mine actually goes down. I have it where I showed him like it'll be like all these likes, and then the next morning they're all gone. It's back to like 2.
I don't even look.
But the thing is, you're trying to track it, and I even sent him a thing. I said, "Look, I'm not trying to make money on this. If you just want to not pay me, I'm not worried about it. It's, you know, YouTube especially, it's almost a Ponzi scheme at this point.
Yeah.
And that's what people aren't getting. And you know, I don't know if I'm using the BitChute and Minds and a few other ones just to try to find the audience. Not, you know, some of these guys are like, oh, I have to make all this money. Well, if your whole business model is to try to make money on something that somebody else can rig, it's not a particularly good.
I don't think I've ever been successful in anything where my goal was to make money. If I just did it because I liked it, the money eventually came. And if it didn't, then fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But every time I ever tried to do something where I really didn't like it, but I just wanted to do it for the money, it never worked.
Yeah.
But when I did it just because I wanted to do it, and if it made money, great. And if it didn't, I don't care. It always worked. You know what I mean?
But you know, that's you're going about it the correct way. I thought I was doing it, but I just don't like to see the numbers keep changing. But yeah, what are you gonna do? I remember when I haven't been doing it for 8 months maybe. But before that, I was doing the workout, you know, stuff about exercise.
Yeah.
But nobody could exercise because we were in COVID, and you couldn't use a gym. You know, I couldn't go to a gym and videotape different things to show you because it couldn't be done. So we were already talking about various things, and most of the stuff I do in general is international.
Yeah,
and then
you're a weightlifter too, or you were a weightlifter?
Yeah, well, I theoretically still do.
Yeah,
not a professional.
Yeah,
but I just actually finished. I had to go recertify again 2 days ago with that stupid USAW site. But no, I mean I've been pushing it since I'm 53. So it's 46 or 47. I got in an accident and pushed one of the vertebrae out.
Oof.
And then they put it back in. It didn't push all the way out, pushed out enough. Put that back in. I had to start switching over and did a lot of back strengthening. I was doing deadlifting, which they say wouldn't have worked out, but it did. So I was following what they call the starting strength method, which is Mark Ripito. You'll see him on. He has one of the best programs in general. But when you get to a certain age, the bigger weights, and they weren't huge weights compared to what's out there, but now it's mostly Olympic lifting because it's more dynamic. You know, I'm 53, going to be 54.
Stem cells.
Oh, yeah, $6,000 for a new knee, from what I understand.
Hey.
But I just don't have the $6,000 right now because there's not much going on. But that was where the idea was to go with that. Like, I have other channel-ish things, and I don't talk about any of the stuff that you see on the BitChute or anything because it's, I believe, totally in separation of the two topics. And I deal with a lot of diverse people with the weight stuff and some of the issues with the boxing and all. And I don't want to have any bleed over because there's no reason to. Your personal beliefs are your personal beliefs. I don't really do a lot of personal belief video. I'm just stating this is the information that's available.
Do what you want with it.
Do what you want with it. And I get, my favorite is I've been a tool of Mossad's reptilian Zionist occupation government for quite some time, depending on which site you go to. And it comes up on everything. If I'm talking about the Chinese, if I'm talking, there's guys that come in and write that all the time.
Yeah.
And you just have to realize, but they also are the thumbs down guys.
Right.
And they drive, or they flag you. That's the thing that bothers me, is the guys that intentionally flag because they perceive that whatever you're doing on your channel is something that they don't agree with. So you get flagged, so it takes a day or two to get over that.
Yeah.
I told Rustin that was the issue with some of his stuff. Don't use anybody's music at all.
No, you can't.
Because I can go for a copyright
yeah.
against you, and it'll take you, even if you have the paperwork, it'll take you weeks to get it up.
All right. So now say if I play a song on here right now and I go to load it, when I go to put it in, I'll get a copyright strike. And what it will say is, it's not a strike, we're going to list this, but the person who had that song or whatever that you played, that person's going to get any of the income from the ads.
Yeah.
So if you sing a song, "Hi, my name's Frank Bell," and you put that on YouTube and I play it, and let's say I get 200,000 views on a video, all that ad money goes to you over that 3 seconds that I played. And so then you have to go back in, blade the fucking thing,
that's what happened to like guys that used to. I remembered because ECW used to be in Philadelphia when I was up there. ECW, Surfer Ray Odyssey, the last of the Soul Surfers. He used to work with a friend of mine.
What's ECW?
Extreme Championship Wrestling.
ECW.
And
do it better.
They used to do it in a bingo parlor.
Yeah.
It was a bingo parlor. Now it's the 2300 Stadium or whatever the hell it is. But at that time, it was a bingo parlor. And it was the most brutal. What do you think? The most brutal wrestling?
Yeah, they used baseball bats wrapped with barbed wire, thumbtacks.
These were the guys that had been
glass
wrestling in Japan. And the Japanese stuff is a lot more extreme. So they'd have it like, they'd suplex a guy into a trough full of thumbtacks.
Tommy Dreamer. Taz.
Yeah, the Sandman.
Sandman. Yeah.
And they were hitting each other with baseball bats?
They hit each other with those rattan kendo sticks.
Jeez.
The big phosphorescent light things, and they'd stab each other with them. They'd throw themselves off Sabu.
Fuck that.
You think UFC guys are nuts? These guys are crazy.
But the thing with them is, so we went there to see this kid local. He was a baby face, and and I'm listening to it at the beginning. They're using Metallica and all this stuff, and I'm like, how are they getting away with this, right?
So I was just going to ask you, how do they get away with beating the hell out of each other?
Well, not that, the music.
Well, I
was worried about the music. I was going to get the hell beat up.
If I go hit somebody with a bat, I'm done for.
The thing was, they said they had an agreement with the distributor that they could play anything they wanted because it was good publicity. And I'm thinking that's Metallica being played in there because they did Enter Sandman for this guy, the Sandman. And here's Metallica suing Napster.
Yeah, I remember.
And the next minute, they're letting this guy
go ahead and do whatever he wants.
Because once that would go on, this place would go crazy. And he was just like, what was he, a roofer or something? He was just like, he had like a regular job. And then he had a very high tolerance for pain.
Yeah, they were all just regular, like, dudes, like beer drinking.
Yeah.
Just regular dudes.
And they came in, and the whole thing was, near the end, you would bring your own weapons. Jeez. And they would hold them out because they would fight out of the ring most of the time. So they'd come out of the ring, and there's people with, like, a snow shovel and trash can lids, and they're just like, it's like Thunderdome, right?
Did you go and you actually saw this in person?
I've seen it a couple of times. Yeah, because Ray fought the one time. 2 times we saw him. The one was, the best one was, he wrestled Jimmy Snuka the week Jimmy Snuka beat his girlfriend to death. And he gets in the ring with Ray. He's like, "Welcome to the real world, brother." And Ray looks like he just wants to run out of the ring.
You remember this, Rob?
I remember when
he beat his girlfriend to death.
I remember when he beat his girlfriend to death. Yeah, I remember that.
And he wrestled like a couple days later. They bailed him out. And he's wrestling, I think it was a guy called Iron Mike Sharp who had a place in New Jersey. And Ray gets in the ring with this guy, and Jimmy's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, really physically intimidating, even though he's like older at the time. Plus, he just beaten his girlfriend to death, so
Yeah.
it's one more girl that Ray had killed.
Well, what's one more? You know, we're already.
Well, that's
at
what
that
Ray's
level,
like. Oh my god! And, you know, he's wearing a wetsuit because he wasn't really super in shape.
Yeah.
So his thing was he had the wetsuit and the blonde hair and peace, you know, all this kind of shit. And he gets in with Jimmy, and I was like, oh my god, it was over quick. But you know, he's like, oh my god, it was totally. You guys, you look frightened. You're like physically afraid in that ring with this guy.
Fuck.
Because that's what they were like. You know, we had, that was, and I mean, it was just funny to see because they had to have a town like Philadelphia to make that show work.
Yeah.
Because they have this guy Sabu, who was the original Sheik's nephew or something, who was, you know, stabbing people in the head. And him and a guy named Cactus Jack.
I was watching this thing.
Who was, what was Jack's?
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley.
WWE. Crazy.
Yeah, Mick Foley. Okay.
He was getting paid, I think, $70,000 to be in ECW, which is not much.
Yeah.
And they got up 20-some feet. You know where, you were there. You know where they had the bingo card thing? Uh-huh. Those two fought up to that level. And then they threw themselves off of that onto tables. Yeah. So what's that, 25 feet? Yeah. They threw themselves like 25 feet to the ground onto wooden folding tables that are not sawed. People think that they were like sawed or something.
They were straight. They were
real tables. Boom, down there. I think Mick had broken something during the thing. Sabu, I think, broke his jaw. They taped his head up.
I met Mick Foley at a amusement park.
It's nuts.
And that man looked like he was fucked up. Like he limped when he walked.
Yeah.
From all the years of all the crazy shit, jumping off like 20-foot high rings onto tables.
And he was never a physical specimen.
No, but amazing.
You know, he just was like sort of, you know, I guess he was fairly, not compared to some of these guys today. I don't think he knew where the gym was, but he could take a beating.
Like nobody else.
Oh, God. Terry Funk set him on fire in the East.
Set him on fire?
Terry was drunk, I guess. I'm hoping. Were you there for that one? He had a branding iron.
I remember that.
But he burns him. Because I guess he wasn't supposed to. But he did.
The fuck?
But these guys are, you know, look at the money we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's peanuts.
And you know, because then they go to the big leagues, they get whatever. But the crowd, I don't know how anybody could talk the next day. That was like a real Philadelphia, like the sound in that place was like ECW. And then they were bought by Vince McMahon's corporation.
Vince McMahon, yeah.
And the crowd didn't like it too much. They had to, but I mean, it's just, it's when you talk to those guys, they're the ones that you know, when you talk about, that's sports entertainment. But they still were smart enough to go to every show they can to sign autographs. They would meet Rob Van Dam, used to get high with people in the parking lot. He never says that's not true. He does it all the time.
Yeah.
And this was even the one, what was his name was there? The one that killed his wife and the kid.
Benoit.
Yeah, Chris Benoit was part of that program for a while. They were.
He killed his wife and his kid?
Yeah, he, I guess I don't know, they're still
I remember
all the concussions.
Somebody killed somebody. Yeah. But this was all in this one little arena that held a couple of hundred people.
You might have seen this. I was watching this yesterday. They used to have this thing like back in, there was this one like magician guy. Mm-hmm. It was back in like the 30s. And he would actually take a knife all the way through his body and they pull it out. Did you ever see that guy?
I've seen guys like him. Yeah.
Like they would put a knife all the way through and all the way out. And he'd stand there and walk around and the knife would be all the way through him from front to back, walk around, pull it out. Stabbed again, and the guy did it, and he died at 53, and it wasn't even from being stabbed.
Probably from alcoholism.
It was from something.
They always die like alcoholism.
And I mean, they have videos of it, and the fucking guy is getting a knife all the way through him, like right through his stomach, coming out, walking around with it to show the crowd that it's real. You know, there's a doctor there, not to help his ass, just so to prove that it's really a knife going through him. Yeah. Pulls it out. And then he would stab himself through the hand, and he pull it out and he'd be like, look, it doesn't hurt. But then he put it down, and the reason why there was no blood was because he kept his hand up so there was no blood flow.
So it was like
but then as soon as he put his hand down, it was gushing blood.
Like a constant wound.
Yeah, so that was
they
like
used to do it with motorcycle spokes. You see guys with the motorcycle spokes through their arms.
When I saw that.
Through their chest.
Frank, I'm telling you, the knife went all the way through all the way out. And the guy didn't just take one of them, Rob. and Rustin. I'm telling this guy, it's black and white, but I mean, it's real shit. It's crazy.
Run the other way.
Yeah, it's all, that sideshow stuff was always very popular, and it was popular in those areas. They don't have it, a lot of that stuff. That was Jim Rose, if you remember the Jim Rose sideshow when that came out. He opened for like 9 Inch Nails. He was very rock and roll.
It seems like the magic thing died out.
And, that guy did it. The one who just like would be entombed in ice for 4 days and nobody cared.
Who was that? Is that
No.
Chris Angel?
No. He's up there with that, killing it.
Yeah.
He's probably more scary in real life. That's one of those kind of deals where like I don't want to wake up tied to a chair in Chris Angel's room.
Yeah.
You're like, it's like The Thing, right? You're in The Thing and they're getting ready to test the blood. Like, oh my God, Jesus, how am I going to get out of this place?
Or they go in a casket and stay in a cat. I mean, fuck that.
Mind freak.
Yeah. But that's their high. That's their high, I guess.
I thought we'd have more here because, Winter Haven used to be all the old circus stuff.
Yeah.
And it never really bled down this far to all that stuff. We got regular voodoo in Santa Ria. We don't need this toy store nonsense. Our goats actually die.
Yeah. They actually really do die.
Yeah,
right?
that and the chickens. That's always been a they never covered that enough. I don't. You remember when they used to have the anti-black magic squad at the federal courthouse?
No.
Years ago, because people would come out and have the voodoo and stuff laid on the courthouse because they're going in for whatever. Wow. And I
remember a bunch of people telling me that they were gypsies.
Yeah. Well, no, this was the real, like the Santeros and all this stuff because you're trying to beat that charge.
Yeah.
Because why would I hire a good lawyer who knows the Fourth Amendment when I can just hire a voodoo guy for $35 who's going to draw in the sand? I don't know, but they used to have to get...
Because if they won, I want my fucking money back.
Yeah, they used to get a rival voodoo practitioner to come and take it off.
Yeah.
Because the janitor wouldn't do it. This is bad luck.
Talk to those people and ask them if they won the case. Because if they did... I need to. I'll take $35 any day of the week. Yeah, I'll pay double. I'll pay 70.
That was always the thing. That era was. They make movies every once in a while. It's getting old. All those guys are dying.
Yeah.
I had one down. I don't think you saw that guy with the old Ferrari, right? What I do tell you, the guy down the street from me was involved in that whole industry, and he had the Magnum PI, the 308.
Yeah.
And it was an ugly, ugly color. He had custom painted. And whatever went on, he got out of it. But the judge and the prosecutor, like, if you even spend $30 more than we think you have,
yep,
we're going to come and get you.
You're done for.
And he used to come through town, and he'd have like that big sandbag ashtray in his Ferrari, and he'd show up at the Ferrari events up in right up here at the International Polo.
Okay.
And all those guys, they're anal retentive. They got the all the F1 and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And nobody actually is allowed to drive the car. And this thing comes putting up, it's got baling wire or whatever.
Yeah, while he's smoking cigarettes in it?
He's smoking cigarettes in it. But he used to go all the time. People would know who it is if they're in the area.
Yeah.
But that was his prison he could never really buy anything new or they had him.
Yeah.
Whatever he had done.
Oh, I'm sure they were.
It was a technicality. It was a technicality issue.
That he beat it.
My neighbor did that. Jesus, it's gonna be like 10 years ago. He came up from Mexico and he's like, bought a house across the street from us, and then he's fixing something. He's like, I've got a lot of money in Mexico, but I have to go get it. You want to go to Mexico? I'm like, you just told me like they were trying to rob and rape you.
Yeah, now you want me to go with you? In other words, they wanted to take Frank.
Yeah, you're way sexier than I am.
Well,
so I don't see where
what he was probably going to do was he was probably going to sit in the car and say, "Hey Frank, can you go there and get it?"
Yeah, dig up the backyard.
Yeah, I'll be in the car. Let me know when you get back.
He did go do it. He was serious about it, and he sold that place, moved to South Beach, and bought like a triplex or something like that. But they always were on the cooling off. There was a lot of guys that had to go through a cooling off period.
Yeah,
because our county, you did your problems down in 305 and then you lived up in 954.
Yeah.
So when you changed your name, your name changed.
It was like your name change. Yeah.
You're whoever down there, you're Juan Valdez Jr. And you come up here, you're Worthington Thurston the 15th or something.
And it's like that, right?
Yeah.
In about 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was, I got here, I guess, when they were really winding. I got the 95. And it was always pretty much winding down.
Yeah.
but you still had a lot of the guys that had done all that stuff. Nobody had anything to show for it.
Yeah.
Very few people, like, that's what I don't like about those shows. Very few of those guys have anything to show for that. I mean, for a couple of years they did.
But then it's gone.
Because, I go tell the guys, once it says people of the United States versus you.
It's over.
Yeah.
You're not winning.
States, one thing.
Yeah.
People of the United States versus you. It's just how long are we talking
about?
The
county and the state, that's one thing. When it says the United States versus so-and-so, it's not. That's not a good paper that you want in front of you.
Yeah, that's what I keep, because they aren't even playing. But, that's our say no to drugs, kids.
Yeah.
Don't import them. If you're going to do them, don't import them.
Now, you went to West Africa, and what'd you do with energy cells?
That
sounds like it was a nightmare.
No, it was.
Well, I heard that.
It was a shame. What it was is a shame, because I lost like $1 million in a weekend.
I would say that sucks.
Yeah, well, I didn't have it yet, but they said that I don't gamble.
Yeah.
But they said that's the sign of, like, you would be a degenerate gambler if you considered that money was your money already.
Yeah.
And that you've lost it even though you didn't have it.
Okay, so with all due respect, how did you piss away $1 million?
I didn't. The other guy who was with us screwed up the whole deal. But I had been brought in. I used to be in solid waste, trash, demolition, all that stuff like that, in New Jersey. And I was talking to a guy, and he's like, oh, we're involved in this project, and they wanted to put trash to steam the plants in Africa. There's a lot of trash. There's no electricity. So I said, yeah, I can do that for you. I said, well, what's it look like? And then picked the country, and I said, well, they have a lot of sugar cane there that they don't use. And here up near Belle Glades, we have, U.S. Crystals, all the big sugar cane companies. Their issue was years ago they couldn't get electric, so they put these big self-generating plants in where they burn the sugar cane after it's been dried.
Really?
That's how they power all those facilities out there.
Really?
Yeah, they had a thing with power and light years ago, and they couldn't work it out.
Wow.
So I went on a tour just for fun, because you got to know your state, right?
Yeah.
And this was years before that, and I still had the booklet. So I said, well, why don't we build one of these things, and we'll just use the cane as fuel instead of as export, because there's no export for it now. That was all that guy needed to hear. He was an African too. And they have their own little pipeline of how they talk to people. So we went around selling that party to a couple different countries. And we ended up in the one. And it was going real well. We saw everything that had to be done. And they agreed to pretty much everything we wanted to do. The problem I had was the company I dealt with, which was originally one guy and his tribe, I guess. They added a second partner, but I was a contract employee.
Okay.
I'm just there to explain how this thing works, and will you guys buy this or not?
So you really have no say when it comes to that.
Yeah, but my commission was based on selling these things.
Right.
So once they saw that it was really, because they were ultimately what happens a lot of times, I'm guessing this is what happens a lot of times, because I saw a room full of them. They would get deals where somebody in their government would okay a feasibility study, and usually they get like the United Nations to pay for it. Maybe a feasibility study costs X amount of dollars. You're the government guy that said that I can do it. Part of that money goes to you. Part of that money goes to me. I put together this fantasy world project, which will never fly. It would fly, so you don't get sued, but it will not fly there.
Yeah.
And then we hand it in, and then nothing goes forward. So people make money just generating these kind of reports. Here we had an actual, I guess they should have told me that we were trying not to get this thing done. So I was like, yeah, we can do this. We had all the maps out. This is the distances from here to there. Because the country, a lot of them that are what they call Francophone Africa, which is the ones the French used to own. When the French gave up the ghost, when the British left, they sort of just said, screw you, we leave. The French signed all these contracts with the Africans where they still ran everything, kind of. Like they still had the electric utilities, they still had the water pump, all that. That government would then contract with a French company to handle all that stuff.
Damn.
So they weren't getting anywhere.
Sounds like layers on top of layers.
Yeah, well,
so like, was it all a scam?
The problem was when I went there, I expected it to be like Banana Republic stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody I dealt with had gone to a real school. Everybody was very serious about not wanting to leave their country. They wanted to stay there. They wanted their country to be better. Their problem was the NGOs operate like criminal organizations. If they go to
and what's an NGO?
Non-governmental organization.
Okay, sorry.
Like you'll see them all over. Like I don't want to give an example because they'll sue us. But you'll see all these little aid groups that operate over there. And instead of me giving the money to your health department, I give it to my cousin's NGO, who then pisses X amount of it away, and maybe it gets done, maybe it doesn't get done. A very, I guess, I don't know if you call it, depressing version of that would have been The Constant Gardener, if you saw that movie.
Yeah, it sounds like a Ponzi scheme without the Ponzi.
Because nobody's there.
You know what I mean?
Somebody's always getting something.
Yeah.
And the only people losing are usually those citizens.
Yeah, but they don't care.
But that's what I'd said when I've done the talk before was all the stuff that these Europeans, it's not always the Americans. We're frozen out a lot of the stuff. Like right now, everyone says, oh, Iraq, blah, 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 blah. Find an American company that's working there. The Iraqis froze us out of all that shit. Because when Saddam ran everything, it was socialism. You know, he was pretty much the Baathists or Nazis. Yeah. I hate to always say the N-word.
No, but it's true.
But they were Arab Nazis. And he wanted the one economy, and he controlled it all, which is oil. They had phosphates, which was a big business before he took over, that are easy. You just run along with a bulldozer. He wanted all that gone. There are industries where a lot of vacant jobs that you never went to, and you paid me off a certain amount as your boss, and you never came. The Americans aren't allowed to do that. So that job falls to some other country.
I don't think a lot of people know that.
It's pretty much standard.
I mean, I know
we have a corrupt. It's a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act that we fall under.
Jesus.
But other third-party countries like the Chinese, the Russians, half the Europeans probably, the Germans don't seem to have a problem with it. Yeah. French either. But they're allowed to go in and do these things. So we took care of all the problems, not really, but we theoretically took care of the problems, and now they can benefit from it because you can pay off people.
Yeah.
And if you can pay them off, then you won't have a terrorist attack because the terrorists are freelancing.
Yeah.
You know, they are just the protection racket. That's what a lot of guys...
have you been to Iraq?
No interest.
No interest.
Not at all. Not one bit. I'm not a big Middle East person.
No. And what'd you do in Brazil?
Oh, that was to work for a company. We were going to import cachaça.
I had a friend. Yeah. That was from keyword. He was from Brazil.
Well, that was in the Amazon state. We were in Manaus. In fact, that's the old governor, the little guy. That C-plan thing there in your picture. See where it says C-plan on the corner?
Okay, yep.
That's like the Amazon version of the maquiladora.
Oh, okay.
You have factories up there that assemble products that avoid tax because they're assembled there, and then they're brought back down the river and sold in Brazil.
Wow.
So that was the old governor. Now he's the senator, and he gave me that lovely box of chocolate.
Nice guy.
With all little Amazon fruits in it. Which
he looks like a little sweetheart.
Oh yeah, he spent an awful lot of money.
So that's how they beat the taxes, huh?
Yeah.
Good move.
So our issue was that the product was in a different state, and the taxes crossing the border into the state that it had to be shipped out of made it prohibitive to sell. Mm. And also they thought that they were going to be like Chivas Regal price, and that's
just not how it is.
It's not how it how
do you say it?
Cachaça.
Yeah, I apologize.
It's a sugarcane liquor. It's just made differently than rum. I guess it would be similar if you had aguardiente.
Okay.
In that family.
Mm-hmm.
But in their country, they have like the BS one that you put in caipirinhas, which is like you could clean your toenails with, and then you can make caipirinha. But they also have 10, 15, 20-year-old age products. And it was explained to me when I was there that, you know, if you have baptizing your child,
yeah,
or we're going to get married, or it's a big legal thing, they have a little tray with the little shots, and everybody has a little shot of that stuff. And for a while, that was kind of downplayed because that was associated with the slavery period.
How do they associate that?
Because that's who used to cut down the sugar cane.
Oh, okay. Jesus, they really tied it all the way back to that?
Oh, that's like I said, it's this whole stupid culture thing. Here they had a product that they could have sold out. You know, it's much closer. There was markets for it in the United States. It just couldn't be made available because of
all the import
because of all the bureaucracy and stuff like that. And importing liquor into the United States is involved anyway. Those laws go back to, I think, the Prohibition.
Yeah.
Because if I import, I have to have somebody who's going to buy the entirety of my shipment on the other end. That's how those little companies, you know, it always says imported by whoever.
Yeah.
He guarantees that he will buy that entire shipment.
So when liquor comes into the United States, you have to buy the whole entire shipment. Like you can't get
somebody I'm sure will send something that says, no, it's not true. I'm greatly simplifying
the fuck what they say.
Well, you know, you got to greatly simplify it. But basically, the government wants the tax now.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear after you sell it at the state level. The federals want their money between the time it gets off the boat and it gets to the warehouse. If it's not paid for by that time, they will then sell it at auction.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see these, like the Roger Wilcos and stuff that used to be in, they'd have like a bizarre flavor of something, and you never saw it again. A lot of times those were either I have a lot of money and I need to get my wife out of the house, so I'll put her in that business, you know, or we got it to here and we didn't know there was that other step.
So that's why it always says imported by or whatever. Wow.
It's always the buy thing. Big companies like Diageo, not so much. Or if they do, they bought that company that does the importing. They always like to keep that because it's a level of insurance issue.
Yeah.
So it's another level of legal safety.
So like a friend of mine, Josh Sagman, he does a bunch of stuff with Tito's. So now is Tito's owned by like...
I don't know. You'll know if it's they brought that thing to market on their own, I believe, didn't they?
I think they're based out of Texas.
Yeah, because you know it's such a tough business because it's the world saturated.
Yeah,
that's what they you know, beer is actually made a little bit. I talked to a guy at Anheuser-Busch the other day because I still know a couple of people, and I always ask him because he was very aggressive. Every area is different. South Florida is not aggressive in their Anheuser-Busch sales at all, and I don't care. They can call up. I was dealing with New Jersey, and New Jersey was very aggressive in the old days because that's how they operated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to take my beer, or I'm going to shove it up your ass. Kind of. But they changed a lot of laws because of the sales practices from the '60s and '70s. But they've made a little bit of an uptick with this, you know, the craft beers and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But volume-wise, I don't think it's the same. Hard liquor is good because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I mean, production side.
Yeah, I had 4 bars. And what was crazy, and I couldn't believe it when I had a beer and wine license.
Mm-hmm.
And the craziest thing to me was it was more expensive to buy from the distributor than Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I went to
Were you
Walmart...
in South Carolina?
No, I was here.
Oh, okay.
So... when the distributor came in, you have to buy from the distributor. Yeah. You can't go to Walmart, even though everybody goes to Walmart. They buy 4 cases and then go buy 4 cases at Walmart.
Yeah.
Because the price difference is like $5-6.
Yeah.
And when you're tearing through cases, you know, at a bar, you know, I had 4 of them. And I couldn't believe that I could go to Walmart or even fucking, I think Costco's, or I forget where I was going. And it would literally be $5 to $8 cheaper at Walmart than from the distributor.
Yeah. It's even worse, like around Myrtle Beach.
Oh, I can only imagine.
They have that so tied up. We don't need to, but just an example of what the problem is. It is so much cheaper to go elsewhere to buy it than for the bars to buy from the distributor. But that family's been in business for so long. If they catch you, they'll pull your license.
Yeah,
they'll be the one ratting you to the to the police.
And you know, up there,
and you'll never get
it. They only give so many licenses. Well, I know in Pennsylvania they only give so many.
South Carolina, I think you can get beer, wine all the time.
But liquor's they only have so many.
Yeah.
So like if you have it, I have to buy it off of you.
I
know that's how it is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, Pennsylvania, that's been
that's a fucking nightmare there.
That's why nobody wants to. That's why it's all, I'd say, not foreigners, but people from outside of Philadelphia are the ones that hold the licenses now because nobody can afford them.
Yeah. I remember they were like $1 million a clip for a liquor license.
They had Mayor Green's family at one point. They were investigating them because if you needed a liquor license, somehow or another, they always had one in the drawer from back when the mayor was in, office.
Yeah.
And it was all like, Isaac Sir Galahad room and all these, the candy bar. So they had gone into West Philly and North Philly and shut a bunch of guys down and just took their license instead of putting it back in for the resale. They just kept it. Yeah. And then they paid the $25 a year. I mean, the city just got it's so sad with that stuff. I mean, when I worked there, when it was the highway, they were like, you'd get the paper. It says an application for liquor license.
Yeah.
There was a place right near, I don't know say where it is, but it was down in the new hip area near the Northern Liberties. And they had the sign up, They came back later on and found out the guys never had a liquor license. They would just apply for the liquor license in the application because they never had the stuff together, and police were in there drinking all the time.
Yeah.
So they'd see the sign, and they had their business privilege license, which you can get for anything. Doesn't mean anything. It just means that I'm paying taxes. That's the first thing that they ask for. Let me see that. And if it's on the wall, most times you don't ask for anything else. So they never had a liquor license in like 4 years.
So that whole time they were pulling that off.
They're just bringing in money. Nobody cared because they didn't see it. But, I don't know. That was just, that's changing now. It's going to be like a Disneyfication in those areas that like they had here. The stuff that used to be.
I just remember, and I looked when I was living in Pennsylvania, and I remember I was thinking, well, I just fill out this thing, get a cosigner, whatever I need, and I can get one. I didn't realize that there was only so many that they made, and then you have to go to that person. Yeah. And literally, I think it was like 1.2 million, and it was for
whatever he wants to pay it. Yeah.
And it only it went by like square feet. Mm-hmm. So like this liquor license was, $500,000 for this room. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want a liquor license for a club, Jesus, well, you better pull out your checkbook, pal. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I was happy to leave was the level of taxation. The level of taxation and regulation that didn't mean anything if you knew anybody.
Yeah.
If you came in, whoever you were, John Public, and you wanted to open a regular place, you weren't going to get open. If I knew somebody and I wanted to run an underage, sell drugs, blow jobs in the bathroom, throwing bodies out into the sidewalk in the morning, I could have it. Yeah. I could have it. Nobody's going to care.
Spring Garden.
Yeah, right across from the emergency services.
They burnt down Egypt.
Yeah.
Club Egypt on the corner.
I remember when they ran the tractor trailer through the front to teach the guys a lesson. to prove that we're serious, we're going to run a tractor trailer for the front of your bar.
Yes, they did. They did too. Right in front of the bar.
It was you're up there for that. Sticking right out. It was like on the sky camera and everything.
Yeah, they ran right through. Did you see that? They ran right through the bar. I mean, right through the bar.
It was a while back. Back when guys used to still run tractor trailers through the fronts of bars.
I didn't personally see it, but I heard about it.
Oh yeah, it was
about 17,000 times over and over and over again. The same stories over and over, and
they get better as it goes along because eventually it's like a truck
gets
full
added
of babies, or something.
First
like
it's
that.
a truck that went through it, then it's this massive truck that went through it.
It was a tractor trailer.
Yeah, but I mean, like the stories go. Then it was a tank that went through it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then there was a tank with missiles on it that went through it. Yeah. I mean, that's
well, those areas. We have that here with a lot of these stories, but. Where you were talking with that, there was a company, I think it was Funks. It was a trucking company that had a problem with the Teamsters. And they had like purple and pink colored trucks. So you could always see them.
I do remember because they were still running around
those trucks off of the incinerator pier all the time.
Yeah.
They would come by and steal them.
Yeah.
And just take them down. It was this one pier, and they were always in the water at the end of this pier where the incinerator was, Spring Garden Street, that one.
Yeah.
They'd either run them off that or they'd run them off the one with the stevedores.
Yeah, Delaware and Spring Garden. Delaware Ave and Spring Garden.
Because somebody took exception to their hiring practices.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, they were around in 2000, 2001. They were still moving around. Yeah, that I do. And they really did run them right the fuck off, too.
Yeah. Just get out and bail them out, and there they were. And I mean...
Yeah, that was fucked up.
That's why when that...
You'd put it on the news, you'd be like, another one. There's another one.
That's why I didn't. When that movie came out last year, I was like, well, you could go up to we used to have Greeley Hall in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I was like, boy, that would have been the place to go and ask him about the accuracy of because that was the old school, the guys with those big rings.
Yeah.
Or the tattoos. They would tattoo the horse head on them.
Yeah, they'd have the horse head and they have that big knuckle ring.
Yeah.
And when you got hit with that
it's
one.
It's like, you guys are only supposed to be making $20,000 a year. You got about $50,000 worth of jewelry.
And the ring is like, it's
like a whole year's pay.
Yeah, like Z-cut diamond, like the best diamond, like S1 diamonds, S2, and then,
That was an area, but
they're on the books for $20K,
It was all. It was, That's, I guess, it's because if you're from that area or you grew up around those people, then it's funnier than I guess it wasn't. If you were Mr. Funk, it wasn't quite as funny.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't think Mr. Egypt, it wasn't quite as funny.
I don't think Mr. Funk is too happy. No. Well, he might be happy because he's still walking around.
Yeah, but that's that was. Once again, same kind of issue. They had that going on. We're always doing that in those towns. We have a lot of it, not that stuff, but just the level of corruption that operates all through these areas. But those guys are almost gone. That's like you're telling like dinosaur stories at this point.
Yeah, this is 20 years ago.
And people are like, oh, they miss the old days because now for them to do anything, they have to get involved in dope, and they're going to do 25, 35, 45, 110. Some guys up near us a few years ago when I was up there got 150 years for methamphetamines.
Yeah, they're not fucking around.
That's a lot of time. And he's like, well, his wife's like, well, he'll beat it on. What's it going to be? Yeah. Is he got a time machine to go back and not do it?
Was it a federal case?
I don't know. I'd have to.
If you cross state lines, it's federal.
I know they were up close to.
Well, any meth case, you're not.
But that was at a time.
You're not walking cleanly from that one.
That was at a time when we frowned upon that particular drug.
Yeah.
Now it's fentanyl and everything else. But no, you were saying, well, that's a long way away from Africa. But yeah, if you get the opportunity, I'd recommend any of those places. There's been a lot of people investing. Not that I'm here to sell it as an investment.
No, yeah.
But it was not an eye opener. I already knew there was going to be issues, but to see that it was basically the Europeans were the problem, and we were facilitating the issue, in general, facilitating the continuation of a problem.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, that's not true. And it depends what country you're in. Depends who ran it before you got it. Depends how many military strong men you had in the meantime. Nigeria does different than the other ones. Democratic Republic of Congo is different. Mali, that was where we were dealing.
Now, do they have any type of metropolis, like a city?
Oh, well, in Mali, we had Bamako, which is the capital. They were the only ones that really had electric so much.
Jesus. So
they had a thing called the Manatali Dam, which the French were involved in. And the French pretty much owned the dam still. Yeah. So it was called EDM, electrification to Mali. And they had gotten so bad with it that the UN made them form an organization called Amadare, which was to come up with an alternative to the Manatali Dam because the French were soaking the Malians so much for electric.
What the hell?
And the president at the time, he was happy to have us because if we could have even screwed in probably 10 more light bulbs, he would have won the election.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with the trash to steam and all that was very viable. But then, like I said, the guys that I was involved with, it bothered them, I guess, that they had to pay me that commission. So in the last day,
they didn't want to pay.
No, in the last day, they decided to change from us supplying everything and then you paying for it when we show up, the turnkey.
Yeah.
Turned into this lease buyback bullshit thing, which was...
Lease buyback, huh?
It was shady. I didn't have anything to do with it, but the thing is, it invalidated my contract.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't there to do that. I was there specifically to do the sales.
So that...
Screwed me out of the money.
Killed it.
But they were talking, overall $100 million. So, but that money bothered them because we were able to achieve in a few days what would take them, now 6 months to a year.
What they couldn't.
Well, not even that. It wasn't so much that. He didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah.
He just knew he wanted to sell something. Some of these guys are so driven, and really not this particular case, but we had situations where I know guys were promised, like, if you were over there in some places, I'm not going to say where we were, but in another place, you had that watch on, right? And you're saying that's kind of a throwaway because you can get more of them.
Yeah.
But look, follow where I'm going.
Yeah.
So it's used-ish.
Yeah.
And we're talking with whoever, the director of something, and I need him. And I've had a relationship with him for a little while now, and we're becoming friends. Before I leave, I take it off. I said, brother, I'll be back. This is for you. Show of goodwill.
And then he'll do what you want?
Not always specifically, but it surely is not going to hurt you any.
Yeah.
You'd see guys that couldn't afford certain cars. You know, the Hummer was big when I was there. The H2 or 3.
Yeah.
The stupid little one that you can't get in.
They stopped, I think they started making them again. They stopped making them for a while.
But the sign of wealth, and, you know, once again, it's subjective, was the Toyota Land Cruiser.
Really?
That was like the shit because that thing had air conditioning and you go anywhere.
You just sleep in that bitch.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were trying to find excuses to go out in the car.
Yeah.
You know?
Just like, to get, how long were you there for?
I dealt with that project for X amount of months. I was in country for only 5 days, 6 days.
Oh,
Got it all done in 5 days because they already knew that if you're, and
you had like the game plan.
I'm not a salesperson. I was just, you wanted this. This is what you have to do. Then it's done.
Yeah.
But everybody that was coming there was just like, I'll let me blow some smoke up your ass and I'll take my 20,000, 30,000 and go away. And then I'll come back and rob you a little bit more next time.
Yeah, I'll keep getting at you and getting at you, right?
Well, picture if you did it 10 times a year, it's $300,000, right?
Yeah.
And then they're paying for
and that's huge money over there.
You're paying to fly you into the country. They're paying for your hotel. I mean, we stayed at the Sofitel is when you know you've arrived. That's the French hotel. We stayed at the Olympique, which is where they.
So that's like the breakers of.
Yeah. It's like the something over here in Lake Worth.
Like the
near the Bendición, like someplace over the Travelodge Junior.
Yeah,
Travelodge Junior is where I was staying. Us and the Cubans had a bunch of nurses they were renting to the Africans, but they had to move us to the other side of the place in case I guess the Cubans wanted to defect. They couldn't come over to us, and it was like that's what you. But everybody had to take something, so they know we're there with the government. Government guy comes over and says, you know. I finally got toilet paper on my second day.
Yeah.
Which I brought it back. I still have part of the roll in my room here because it was famous that I could get it because when you go to the government offices, the low-end government offices didn't have toilet paper. So you're still doing one of these jobs.
And the whole country's like that?
Well, I don't know about the whole country.
I mean, I'm sure, I understand that there's like the high-end area.
There wasn't super great, but it's...
Can you drink the water?
No, I didn't do it. I'm sure somebody's doing it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't me. I didn't want the shower to hit me in the face.
I want it.
I was some of the countries, some places you don't want it anything over here.
Why?
You don't want it in your eyes because if it has if you're in bacteria.
Yeah.
We used to have that in Thailand, the klongs, those little canals.
Yeah.
They have a holiday called Songkran, which is a water festival, and guys would get drunk foreigners. And they jump into these stupid canals, and then they have amoebic dysentery. One guy had gone deaf because they're just open.
I just want if I had to go for 6 days, I just want to take a shower.
I had to.
You can't smell worse than them.
I was wearing my jungle boots the whole time around the pool because I had this unnatural fear of that guinea worm.
Oh,
you ever see the one that goes through your foot?
Oh, I thought it went up your ass.
Oh, no, I've had that one now, I think. It's been on the last couple of days. But this is a worm that lives in the riverbeds.
Okay.
And it would get into their bare feet and drill up into their leg. And you have to kill it correctly because otherwise if it dies in your leg, they have to cut the whole thing out.
And where's this at?
A lot of places in Africa.
I am not going to Africa.
So I didn't want to go. I didn't leave my room without my shoes on.
I mean,
not that it was going to happen, but that was my biggest fear. It wasn't
have nothing against Africa, but I'm not getting a worm drilling up my foot.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna get blinded by the acid from the shower.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna wait 2 days for toilet paper.
Yeah.
So
no, that was how you knew you had trust in the staff because day one there was nothing. Day two I had a little bar of soap.
Oh,
like
gee,
day
thanks.
3, I had the little bar of soap and the toilet paper. Other one showed up.
Holy shit.
So slowly I was acquiring faith with the hotel that I wasn't going to, I guess, destroy
Did they
everything.
give you a toothbrush?
No, but I got a microwave for some reason. I don't
So
know
you got
what
a microwave, but not a toothbrush.
I don't even know if we could plug it in because there was nowhere to buy food.
So these motherfuckers come bring you a microwave, and they're like, here's a little bit of toilet paper, here's a tiny piece of soap, but here's a fucking microwave.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going to cook in it.
I was like, all you have to remember is baby
Must have got
wipes.
given it to him.
Baby wipes is the king. And you just always put it in the trash can, and if they displease you, then you flush it because that's a time bomb. Once that thing gets down there, you don't know that third world plumbing, you're going to disable the building.
I'm good.
But
I'm good. I'll send a card. I'll send a Christmas card over.
Like you're saying, with everybody had to scam, we were eating in the place because there was no place for us to go outside of the fence. And so I get on, they have a big menu, and I'm like, oh, I'd like this. No. You don't have it? Like, no. So I had either a steak au poivre.
What the hell's that?
That's steak with cream sauce with crushed peppers.
Does it actually taste like steak?
It's delicious.
Or is it like...
Those guys can cook. See, this is the problem.
Is it actually steak, though?
Yeah. It's very expensive. The problem that people don't realize is the French taught all the people that needed to know how to make pastry, how to do all the French cooking. So it's just Africans cooking exactly like you'd have in France.
So how much was it? Like a really good steak over there?
I don't know
dollars?
because I didn't pay for it.
Ah.
And then they had capitaine, which is a fish. So I'm like on this, and like day 3, the guy comes by and says, he didn't want to be nasty about it, but he's like, you're eating a lot of steak and fish. I said, well, there's no other options. They don't have anything else on the menu.
Yeah.
And he gets all, and he goes in the back, and here the hotel knew the government was paying, and they were only selling us the most expensive thing on the menu.
Because they
knew the government was going to pay for it.
Oh, shit.
And, they thought it was us because they were getting a daily bill.
Right.
And there's only 4 or 5 of us all together. But figure you're each having the most expensive thing on the menu.
Yeah, the restaurant's
2 times a day.
Yeah. That was a good move by the restaurant.
Yeah, but I mean,
hey, you got to give them a.
It just never ended. It was like a constant. I could see how somebody who was working with their government and says, "Look, we really want to do this and this," and they're like, "Well, we'd like to do it, but your friends just ran up a $50,000 steak bill and toilet paper bill in the hotel."
Toilet paper is probably more than a filet mignon over there.
Yeah, and that was always a big joke with us. And the more I tell people to travel, like, I pay whatever $100 a month for a cell phone here. Over there, everything's prepaid. There's a guy stands on the corner with like the sandwich board.
Yeah.
With 1 million prepaid cards.
Like stuck to him?
Yeah, like stuck to the sandwich board.
Jesus Christ.
And you buy that and you use it in your phone there. I had the guy who was my interpreter. I was paying him like $5 because I had to call the United States. I had no phone when I was there because my phone wouldn't work there. And they wouldn't let us buy phones for some reason. So for $5, I'm calling the United States for like an hour and a half. Perfect. Same thing in Southeast Asia. Perfect on the phone. I have worse calls when I call Del Rey from Broward County.
Yeah.
And it's, or he has Mexican answering service on his phone for some reason. Whatever the company is, it goes to Spanish.
Yeah.
When it feels like it. And they're paying, a little bit of money. So basically, they rob those telecommunications companies, which are associated with the companies there, rob us to get market share in these other countries. And I'm like, when does it end for us?
It doesn't.
But that was really the big issue with that kind of stuff was the level. And the thing is, as I said, this is a long way to get around to it, was the things that I saw other people doing in those countries to defraud their governments. It's now come back to roost in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I see it at the corporate level in different industries where they're pulling the same shit that they train. Basically, they train those guys
to pull the shit
over there.
Yeah.
And wherever over there is.
Yeah.
Over there is anywhere but here or Europe, usually.
Right.
So they got used to doing business a certain way. And they come back here and they do it that way.
And they do it here.
And you're not ready for it because you think we're all on the same team or.
Oh, I don't think.
Not you,
but generally speaking.
Yeah, everybody thinks everyone's on the same team, and we won't, rob our people versus robbing other people.
Yeah.
And it's really been, I guess that's when I really just said, look, there's not much we can do about this unless you get involved in, the actual politics of it all.
Yeah.
Because corporate side,
forget it. It's over.
They're never going to care. There was that, there was a documentary done about 10 years ago called The Corporation. Did you ever see that one?
Mm-mm.
And a fellow from New York is an investigative journalist. And one of the first scenes is at that time, BP had some kind of issue, not the polluting of the Gulf, but another pollution outbreak.
Yeah. Oh, another one?
Yeah, well, they do a lot. They're busy, like Royal Dutch Shell.
Yeah.
Never met a pot of water they couldn't put oil in. And so these Greenpeaceers or whatever went to this guy's house, and they were like on his roof or something. They were going to put up a sign like, you suck dicks or something. Real intellectual.
Get a master's across.
Yeah, set his car on fire with gasoline, right? To be ironic.
Wow.
And
I'm pretty sure it's going to go on fire.
Yeah, and so he comes outside, and he's like super English, like old English guy. And let's have some tea with my wife. And he sits them down, and they're taping the whole thing, because they were going to jerk off to it later.
Yeah.
And he's like, I really don't control this company. He says, I'm just the head of this company. I don't know what's going on in the day-to-day practices in a lot of these areas. And they were like, what?
Yeah.
But the companies are so big. And, the layers of bureaucracy, and especially in those kind of industries where it's 40 million little fake companies that are supplying.
Yeah, umbrella after umbrella after umbrella after
I own the rights to the site. I rent the drill head from somebody. I rent the piping from somebody else. I rent the platform from somebody. I get the crew from a different company.
Yeah.
The logistics guys are from somewhere else. When it comes off, the offloading of the product is an additional company that goes into a tanker that is another company.
But it's all comes back to the original company.
Yeah. It's the umbrella corporation.
Yeah, just like an example, eBay and PayPal.
Yeah.
Google and Alphabet and whatever else.
It's just that the tech guys were smart enough, I guess, because it's passive aggressive in a way. They didn't want to get into an industry where someone was going to throw them out of a window or blow their fucking car up.
Yeah.
Whereas all the other guys have to go out and earn their living.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's it's something that if you say I don't want this, whatever we're doing here, I don't want this anymore. It's a hard decision to make at this point.
Yeah.
And, even that's why I said to you earlier, I applaud you guys for getting past the point, because it's like Rogan is here.
Yeah.
There's another tier in there, maybe in the couple hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And they're beating up on them, like the Tim Pools and stuff like that. They're going to get him to a point where he's going off of these shows. Because I said, I feel that these are almost like a Ponzi scheme now. But if you look at it as just, I'm doing this as a promotional for my own channel whenever I can have my own website or whatever, then it works out pretty well. But if the guys that are out there saying, I'm going to keep banging these things out and eventually someone's going to watch them. And it's nice to think it, because sometimes you do, like, I get stuff from the different companies that say, oh, you got this many thousands of views, but you still only have this many subscribers. It's going away from subscriber, I think, to just views. People don't have enough loyalty.
Well, a lot of people are watching it and they don't hit the button.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, I could sit here and say, hey, please hit the button. But to me,
you got to beg. Yeah.
If you want to hit the button, hit the button. If you don't, don't.
Yeah.
I mean, but I hear that all the time on these YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. Please subscribe, like 14 times in 15 minutes. It'll be a 15-minute thing on trying to figure out how to do something.
Yeah.
And please subscribe. If you hit the thing up there.
It's because they've decided that this is their only job. Yeah. And I'm great. I mean, the money.
At least they're working.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they're being. It's a positive thing.
Yeah.
They could be sitting in a room doing God knows what.
Yeah.
I mean, but to get to where you are with all this stuff, this is not a $5 investment.
No.
Thank
you. And then there was a lot of miscalculations in the beginning.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think we've been doing it about 5 months, 3 months, really hard. And this has changed 100 times, and it's about to change again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but that's where, if you can find, I'm glad you're doing it, because you're at that point where I think you're going to have, you and people at that level, you're going to have a sweet spot up to around 100,000. Because at that point, they're going to be afraid they're going to have to pay you.
Yeah.
And when it gets to the point where we have to pay you, that's when they're going to, on principle, start to, demonetize or whatever you have going on. Because, they offer things for, you can do T-shirts and this and that other thing, only if you have 10,000 viewers.
Yeah.
The number is 10,000. So it's holding out something that's kind of becoming unrealistic.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing happy pig pictures or happy puppy pictures.
Yeah.
If you're doing something like you are, where you're having more and more conversation-based things, and you're not just screaming like, the election was stolen, that kind of thing, then it's really going to be an issue. But I think that's where you're going to find guys like yourself, and I'm not saying it just because I'm here. I said it to Rustin before.
No, I appreciate
before I even knew.
Yeah.
But that's going to be the spot. Now, what are you going to do when you hit that number? Because that's when the roof's going to fall on you.
Yeah.
Because they learned from Rogan.
Right.
He was too big to fail.
Well, I was reading a huge article because after I blew a ton of money on stuff I didn't need that didn't work, there's a website that it lists everything that he has in the studio, and we pretty much got every single thing that he has, and ever since, not really any problems.
Yeah.
But prior to that, when he was debating that deal with Spotify, he did an interview with Kanye West. It got like 40 million views. They didn't monetize it because of something he said.
Yeah.
Now, I watched it. I mean, it was like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Okay, so now imagine the ads he had in that, if you didn't pay, but it doesn't matter as long as you watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
3 hours long, okay? They didn't monetize it because I think they said I don't know, some bullshit reason. And I watched it.
Yeah.
And he really didn't say anything bad. Now, that's 40 million views on one video. I mean, that's about 35, 40 grand right there, payout, if not more. So when that happened, then he went to Spotify. From what I read, this guy could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
He goes to Spotify because that wasn't the first time that the shit happened where he had like an Elon Musk on, smokes the weed, gets 60 million views. Now that would have been $60,000, right?
Yeah.
And they demonetized it because he smoked weed. Now, I don't know.
It was probably something Elon said, and not the marijuana thing so much, because I've seen videos where people are tripping and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to come up with an excuse, and how are you going to fight them? It's their product.
Yeah, it's their thing. So, I mean, he took the money, but now we just saw an article that he, I don't know, they're saying that they're pulling his what did it say, Rob? They're starting to pull some of his episodes.
Yeah,
which he had to have. He's not dumb.
Yeah.
He had to have in that contract that they can't do that. Don't you think?
That's going to be the thing. Like, once again, I'm running a big conglomerate, and I can't watch what every idiot that works for me is doing.
Yeah.
There could be somebody. I'm not saying that the owner of that company is a saint.
Yeah.
But there could be, John Smith over in HR who hates that.
Yeah.
Hates Elon Musk, hates technology, whatever, and he's going to keep screwing things up, and they're going to get in a lawsuit, and maybe he gets fired, and maybe he doesn't.
I want you to read. Can you try to pull that up?
If you see
you're
the
like
one,
really intelligent with this.
Well, no. If you see the one, I'm far from up on this, but right now.
But I mean, not that you're up on it. But I mean, if you read the article, I think you'll be able to pick it apart because I mean, Christ, you've been everywhere.
Well, no. The thing that just came out today was they got rid of the suit against Donald Trump with Twitter. Remember when that came out? Now the concurring, agreeing that it should have been dropped, was Clarence Thomas again. Clarence Thomas, in the last two positions that he's written, one was the dissent on the other case with the election, and this was, I agree that we should have dropped it. He's giving anybody with any sense the groundwork to launch the lawsuit that busts these companies up.
Yeah.
Same with the election question, which was, you'd have to go back and read it all through. It's not that long. It's like 2-3 pages. and he explains what was wrong with how the case is presented. And that's you've been in court. It's not what we're talking about, it's what we're arguing about.
Yeah.
If you brought the case in an incorrect fashion, the Supreme Court will not hear it. It doesn't mean that they don't believe that something should be done. They just don't believe that they can act on it under the situation.
And then if you do beat it, then it becomes a witch hunt.
Yeah.
Like last week, Roger Stone was in here, and the shit that they're doing to him is so fucked up. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. He's pardoned. Leave the fucking guy alone. And they're just fucking with him to no end.
Well, he's got to be on the financial rocks by now.
I don't know. I mean,
how much do you think those lawyers cost? It's not like you get the money back.
A ton.
You're not getting the money back.
I sat with him for an hour and a half when we went and had dinner, and I mean, it's just the dirty shit that they're doing to him. It's just so fucked up.
Well, it's no different than Well, this is the question that
don't play that. Just don't play
that. You're going to have to look at with like other groups that have gone to the bit shoots and all those things.
Yeah.
What kind of deal did they get to go?
Now, when you read that, don't you think that in his contract he had to have that covered?
What says right here? Pulled these ones down. Breitbart news editor Milo, Proud Boys founder, and Chris D'Elia.
Turn your mic up a little bit, Rob. And then it says what? Spotify.
They pulled down. Sorry, I have my mic on. They pulled down Breitbart news editor Milo. I'm not even trying to pronounce the last name.
Yiannopoulos.
Proud Boys.
That's
founder.
the guy who developed Signal. He's the guy who made Signal.
And then
is he?
Chris D'Elia, who was accused of grooming underage girls. Now, there's, again, accused, like I said. Hasn't been found guilty, accused. And they pulled it. But then they said down here, actually, I believe I was reading it correctly, that Alex Jones was on, and they did not pull that one, which I would have thought that would have been the first one they pulled and not the others. But they kept the Alex Jones one on. So now they're just picking and choosing what they want to pull and what they feel like they want to pull. So I don't understand that aspect of that.
And then what it says, that the news comes in the year following the exclusive deal with Spotify, the Joe Rogan Experience making the streaming service sole source of Rogan's content after years of developing an audience of 8.4 million on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, maybe the issue is if those videos go back to when he made all of his money on them on YouTube, that he starts generating for them on January 1st.
Yeah.
And they're going to attack his back catalog.
Yeah.
But anything from January 1st on, let's say, maybe he's allowed to.
Well, no.
Then they would be able to censor, because remember they had people that were like, "Well, we want it censored or we're going to quit."
Yeah.
Well, quit.
Right. Well,
it's like we can't.
That
can't find
monopolist,
another.
the guy who made Signal, that was just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that was after the move.
And he got thrown under the bus.
I don't know why the fuck they took that. I guess they didn't like the fact that he was talking about encryption.
Yeah, well, they've had a few. He had Joe actually had the Adam Curry.
Yeah, that was the first one,
and that was really an important. Like, he knew an awful lot. Considering his hair from the old days,
yeah,
he knew an awful lot about how these things worked.
Well, they say Adam Curry was like the guy who started the whole podcast thing, or one of the guys.
And he showed you how to have the sterile phone and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's right on a lot of that. It's how much do you really need from it? Like, I found that out, like I said, when I just had this problem with the phone. I couldn't get Uber. I'm stuck over at the Tri-Rail. Coming off the airplane, I get to the Tri-Rail, and luckily one of the guards let me use his phone as a hotspot, or I wouldn't have been able. I would have been walking 5-6 miles, because they wouldn't. In the old days, they would let you they would charge you for extra gigs.
Yeah.
But now everybody's a scumbag as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
So they don't care that you've had 10 years or 15 years with the business.
So so Verizon is shutting it off once you hit that gig?
They said there was a safety point, which was like about 10 more minutes. And the thing was, I wasn't using a lot of video. I think it's because I use Signal. I think that may be sucking up a lot of that, because I didn't have an unlimited program, because I usually do everything out of the house.
I don't think Signal pulls much.
You think they could send you like a text message? You're getting close to your...
Well, I signed up for an unlimited program, but they wouldn't let it go for 10 more days. So I had to go buy that Google phone.
Well, the guy that we just read, Monopolist, he's the guy who owns and develops Signal. Yeah. And he was on there for 3 hours explaining how it works, how there's no key, how it's a private company, blah, 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 blah. So I guess.
Well, that's something that, you know, like when you were saying with that other fellow with the case.
Yeah.
If you had that on your phone all the time,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
How would they have it? Because if it's a disappearing text or whatever,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be able to just be one phone call. Let's have the information.
Yeah.
That's been, you know.
Well, you should have to go to a judge to get
And
your calls and your texts
and that
everything
phone
else.
tapping judge that they've been using that they used on Trump and all that. That's nonsense. I'm not, you know, anybody who's been around like a RICO case.
Yeah.
RICO was developed because the police were too lazy to do their job,
Right.
where they couldn't get somebody to talk. You know the deal. I'll hit you with 150 years.
Yeah.
Tell me what, you know, Don Johnny had for breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't want to do 120 years. But that didn't work on guys that weren't going to get that big time. If you were non-narcotics, do you know anybody who get big time before RICO?
No.
Didn't happen.
No.
Because there was nothing to get you on.
Right.
Once you brought the drugs into play, that's when people started going down.
That's when you started getting rocked. Yep.
And that was smart for the older guys to stay out of that.
Yeah.
But, you know, RICO is a bad law. It's just vague conspiracy. You know, even down here now, I think we can try you for murder without a body.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't seen anywhere near the guy.
It's conspiracy.
We get you on a conspiracy.
Conspiracy is the word.
And that's what they were bandying around like at the Capitol and all that. But the conspiracy thing bites both ways. Now you know that you could prove conspiracy on the other team.
Yeah.
But that's why they say, well, we got to stay out of the whole law business and just stick with, as you see right now, with executive orders. You know, we're going to do what we have to do. We have the problem with the red flag, which is illegal.
Yeah.
But there's no lawyers out there that are going to take those cases. ACLU is not going to take it.
No, they're not. No, they're not going to take it because they don't want that kind of publicity, and they don't want to turn the other side against them.
Yeah, because that's their money.
Yeah, that's their money.
They haven't, you know. Not that I was big fans of them ever, but you know, it's almost like when they did the Skokie, Illinois thing, they just did it for some cred.
Yeah.
And then they went back to being shitbags again.
Yep.
So they inconvenienced and horrified all these older people.
Yeah.
Just so they could turn around and make more money.
And then go back to the way that they were.
Go back to business as usual and pretend that they're doing something useful. The only one who used to be good at that was, one of the born agains, either was it Falwell, one of them had their own university. And they formed a law school, and they had lawyers that actually went out and fought for faith-based things in courts all around the country. They were like the anti-ACLU.
Yeah.
You want to take down the 10 Commandments? Well, we're going to come back and we're going to put them back up. Stuff like that. And I think they just lost their way because the conservative side, I guess we just say conservative for lack of a better term, they don't put their money where their mouth is, or they don't have that stupid money to spend. You know, there are not a lot of movie stars that can do it. They don't have a George Clooney who just made almost $1 billion on a tequila company.
Yeah, I was just going to say on that liquor. Yeah, he did. Really? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Google it.
I think it was like $850 million.
Yeah, he's like right on the brink of it.
And it was what, Christy Brinkley's husband?
Yeah.
Or Cindy Crawford's husband or something?
And you know who else made a shit ton? Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. Reynolds has one too.
Oh, Reynolds has one too?
It's not that Clooney's, I think, is the...
Clooney's is at the top.
The top.
And then it's, what's his name? McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
His is right under there. And then the other guys. But I know those two, they're over. I know that McConaughey is over $500,000.
Yeah, I heard of this actually.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
Casamigos. It's a really good product.
I mean, they're all like The Rock.
I'm on their team.
The Rock has his own tequila now.
Yeah, but he had to sell multivitamins, that guy. He doesn't. I can't picture The Rock doing anything harmful.
Look,
like,
$500 a bottle.
Yeah.
That's probably for a small bottle.
Well, that was the older one was manufactured
how much did
with different
Clooney
company.
make? There, you were right.
Yeah,
right, Frank. Oh yeah, George Clooney made nearly twice as much as The Rock last year, and he has tequila to thank. George Clooney is the highest paid male actor of 2018. Wow, really? According to Forbes. Even though he didn't appear in a film. How about that?
His residuals and
the kickbacks. instead, he has the 1 billion sale of his Casamigos tequila
Casamigos.
brand to thank for his 239 million pay.
But if you saw how he did it, he went to Mexico as George Clooney,
Yeah.
and he Clooney'd some Mexican distillery into handling the product for him. Every movie that he made from that point on had to have that at the after party.
Can't beat
Almost
that.
exclusive.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there would be any other hard liquor.
Just that.
Just that.
Look up Matthew McConaughey.
And the guy who did it before him was, what's his name? Paul Mitchell
Paul Mitchell, yep.
with Padron.
With Patron, yeah.
And
Now if you have Patron, I mean, you're on another level.
Yeah.
No, you don't pay your rent, but you'll buy a bottle of Patron.
yeah, it's become the stripper drink now.
Yeah.
It went from Belvedere or Grey Goose.
Yeah, it was, remember it was Grey Goose? It was Grey Goose.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted Grey Goose. And then once in a while you could get away with Absolute.
Yeah.
You kind of look like a schmuck with Absolute. But if you had the big Grey Goose in the bottle ice.
You're like your drunk dad.
Yeah, yeah. But now it's like Grey Goose. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
I want Patron or the other.
I mean, at Temple we did Windsor.
Windsor? Whoa.
At Temple, we did Mad Dog. It was Mad Dog and Schlitz Malt Liquor 16-ounce hot cases.
What's
at
the-
that,
what's the one called?
Trestle, the Trestle Liquors, which was under the bridge.
Steel Reserves.
No, we didn't have that.
What's the one called where you...
Yeah, Crazy Horse, if you remember
yeah.
Crazy Horse.
I remember.
That was a felony in a bottle.
Yeah, that was absolutely a felon in a bottle. What was the... Jägermeister, right? Yeah. What would you throw in it?
Jaeger bombs. It was
You would put...
Red Bull.
Yeah.
Is that all it was?
Yeah, Red Bull. There was a guy, actually, I forget where it was. He was like pounding them like no tomorrow, and he had a massive heart attack.
Too much caffeine.
I could see
Yeah,
that.
Caffeine and
But what's the one that you
and
pour
the
the
Molly
beer in,
didn't help
and then
either,
you
right?
put something in it, and you got to like pound it real quick? I thought that was a Jägermeister.
yeah, Jaeger bomb. Like
Jäger bomb. I don't know. You had a...
and
You did it, and it foamed up, and you had a quick...
Goldschlager. Remember Goldschlager?
Ah,
You used to get, I'd wake up with my fingers like this because you wouldn't get it off your hand in time, and it would just sort of freeze your fingers.
now
together.
imagine how your stomach is, right?
Oh, I knew a girl who that was her thing. And I mean, she was a fitness girl
Yeah.
before it was really big. You're talking like 1991. She was like almost 6 foot. She was really put together.
Wow.
And she'd go through almost an entire bottle of that stuff, and it didn't even phase her. I was like, what is the matter with you?
Like a fifth?
No, just the regular, what are they, 175s or whatever? I don't forget what they make.
Still, fuck. Well, she is 6
And
foot.
like over a 4-hour period. Yeah, but she was like 135. You know, she was real
I don't know how she did
before
that.
the butts became the big thing.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
pre-butt era. And she just put that stuff away. I was afraid. Yeah.
Do you like the fake butts? Because Brazil's got to have a ton of them.
They had some. Colombia had a bunch, and there's a lot of them up here. But the bad ones, it's like Frankenstein.
Yeah,
put
yeah.
your ass together.
And what was the Colombian landmine victim project you did?
Well, I guess it's still going. I haven't been back to. I have to go back to Bogota and talk to them. There was a couple philanthropic groups that were involved in that. The FARC, which is the communist guerrillas. They're like another organized crime family.
Really?
Now they are. Back then they pretended to be communists. And
Fuck that. I
they've
don't want any
been-
problems with them.
they've been, running around, kidnapping, murder. They're involved in narcotics trafficking, all that stuff. And they, in the last X amount of years, have been getting up against the wall. The government under President Uribe at that time had really made a push to get them under control. And under the current president, they're getting to a point of a ceasefire. Now, the problem is they're in this mountainous area, and they've landmined a lot of the passes. So the army's down, let's say, at the bottom of the hill. They're on the top of the hill, but they don't quite know where they are, so you can't just drop bombs on them because there's people living around there.
You know what I used to say? When my friends would go in the National Guard, just joking with them,
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're going to be the one who runs up the hill and looks and see who's over the hill while the Marines and the big boys are sitting around in the car.
Yeah.
You're going to be going up over the hill and, hey, let us know if anybody's over there. Boom, boom, boom. See you later.
Yeah, that's their issue is the mines aren't all generic like Soviets or something like that. A lot of them are improvised. And they not only are maiming the soldiers, but they're maiming the peasants.
So now
So some little girl could be out with her burro, and she's walking in the wrong place, and it's a pressure plate or some of them are made out of wood.
Okay, so explain this to me. So you're in Colombia, and they got landmines all over the place?
Not all over, just in this one particular area.
And why exactly do they have them there?
That denies, you put landmines down to deny access to an area. So if I'm here
so
and the
it's
army's
only
there,
their people there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's to keep the army from advancing up certain parts of the hill to mix it up with your team.
Okay, I follow you.
So as they've had injuries and, the medical facilities aren't, at the point that we're at, they have a lot of maimings. They've had a lot of deaths because they haven't gotten a chance to get them the correct treatment. I'm not 100% on
But I mean,
what they're doing.
You flew out to Colombia. You were out there, right?
And
what'd you see when you were there?
we went to the facility, and they're really trying. The idea, I guess, I don't have their paperwork. They have a couple things because once the soldier's missing a leg or an arm, he's out of the industry.
Yeah.
And they don't have as many support systems for them as like we try to do, and even we don't do as much as we should. But imagine what they're doing,
Right.
because they don't have the funds or whatever. And the United States, unfortunately, has had the most incidents right now with that type of injury, with the artificial legs and arms and things. And they could have used some not cross training, but some crossover. I guess it would be training, crossover training, some type of exchange of knowledge. Excuse me. A lot of the older products that we have that we don't use anymore, they could have probably used.
Yeah.
If you notice, prosthetics now don't look like legs anymore.
Right.
The older days, if you knew somebody like Vietnam era, I had a fellow we knew was Korea. He stepped on a landmine. It almost looked like a mannequin leg.
Yeah.
It came on, and they had the dimensions of your regular leg. Now you see a lot of them are the titanium rod.
Yeah.
And things like that, and the arms are different. So there was a lot of things we could turn back over to them that I think we should still do. It's not a priority under the government right now. It's, they still haven't issued enough products under U.S. aid to the Colombians for the Venezuelan refugees.
So are they looking for the United States to come in there and
No,
fix the
I
problem?
think they're trying to handle it themselves. But a lot of issues that we have with these kind of countries, we're causing a lot of this.
Yeah.
The Venezuelan thing is the Venezuelan thing. Okay, but the cutting off of the money, how'd they get their money cut off?
Right.
We did it.
Yeah.
Now, could they have resolved that in a better way? I don't think invading would have helped. You'd have to shoot your way through a bunch of Cuban intelligence officers to get at Maduro. He's surrounded by Cuban officers.
And there's going to be death involved in that in some way, shape, or form.
And the slow death is, somebody's always saying, well, George Washington will jump up or in their case, Simon Bolivar will jump up and liberate the people. It's not always like that. There aren't that many people who are willing to stand up, especially because we're talking certain death.
Now, now when we're talking about this, and they're trying to fight it themselves,
mm-hmm.
and we're talking about the cartel, right? That's laying these landmines.
No, this is an actual group called the FARC, F-A-R-C.
F-A-R-C.
That's the FARC. It turns out to be like
is it like a cartel?
They work for the cartels.
Okay, so they work for the cartel. So they probably already have the government paid off.
Well, no, because the government is sick of it. Like,
what are they going to do though?
Well, it depends on what time period. I'm not 100%, I'm not the historian on the Colombian issue. The issue that they've had really goes back to World War.
What I'm saying is I'm sure there's still landmines all over the place.
Well, they're all the ones we're talking about are fairly recent.
Yeah.
This isn't like Mozambique where they were laid during that Revolutionary War 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Or in Cambodia.
Right.
This is recent. These injuries are new. The idea is just to come up with either some better additional treatments or also find some occupational training for them in a country that doesn't have a lot of occupations.
Why not just drop a fucking bomb where it is and just whack them all out? I mean, just take a fucking plane over and drop a bomb.
They
get rid of them. Get the citizens
I'm sure
out.
there are some generals out there that would love to do it.
Well, look, you get the citizens out.
Mm-hmm.
You get them out. You sign the alarm.
Yeah.
They're the cartel. They think that they can get away with anything. Got no problem with the cartel, by the way. Yeah. But fly over and drop the fucking bomb. And they're gone. Because you're not going to beat that.
That's what the ceasefire that they want. The FARC wants. allows for amnesty for them for their crimes. Now, if
so they can get away with whatever they want.
Whatever they've done in the past, you won't prosecute them for. Now, they had that happen. Shit. They had that happen before. It was a different group, and I'm not going to remember the name. It was like M13 or something like that. They were the ones that sieged the Palace of Justice during the Escobar period. If you remember, the Palace of Justice was attacked, and they shot Supreme Court justices and set the building on fire.
Yeah, I watched a lot of stuff on that.
That was paid for by the narco types to stop the U.S. from extraditing them back to the United States.
Well, this goes back to what you had said earlier.
Yeah.
So now what they'll do is they'll say, okay, we'll stop blowing everything up. Let us do whatever we want. Now they do whatever they want. 3 months later, they're blowing shit up again, just like you said earlier.
Well, no, this is what I'm saying. This is where they're going with this is those guys that were convicted for that, the Palace of Justice siege.
Yeah.
Got out of jail and were allowed to run for political office. They became congressmen in the areas that they used to dominate as terrorists. And they went and imprisoned the man who led the assault against them for murder because they shot a couple of other people extrajudiciously. So that guy then goes to jail, who was the one who saved whoever was not, whoever wasn't murdered immediately during the fire and all that stuff. If you see, there's a famous picture of the armored vehicle going through the front of the building. So in other words, the cartels running the country. No, they're not. It's not Mexico. Colombia is not Mexico.
Yeah.
Colombia has a lot of other issues.
Yeah, there are other things.
But that's not so much. Those days that you see in those TV shows, they don't even want to talk about it. It's over. They don't want to, there's still stuff out there. But groups like this have to, fade into the woodwork. They know what happens when they get made legitimate. There'll be retaliation, and somebody that you blew their grandfather up is going to catch up with you one day and do you in.
Yeah.
Like when we had the Los Pepes, which was the paramilitaries that were killing drug dealers at the end of that time period.
Yeah.
There'll be some vigilante justice because that's how it works. Now, the Mexican thing's an entirely different animal. And unfortunately, they've started to show up in countries like this because they want to top down their supply chains. They're tired of not being the manufacturer and just being the distributor.
And what's your opinion on all that in the future with Mexico?
Well, right now they've had an undeclared war against the United States for the last 10 years.
I bet they're happy as hell right now.
It's a win-win because, if you saw some of the people that are the political elites, they still resent the United States for the Spanish-American War. I mean for the Mexican War.
Yeah.
They still are mad at Jack Pershing. Jack's been dead, 75 years, 85 years? They want to get back. Their answer is, well, allow these guys to do horrible things in the United States to the Yankees because they did horrible stuff to us. The basic plan would have been for us to push 15 miles across the border and then liquidate all opposition within that 15-mile area
now,
with a military presence.
With all the places that you've been, as Trump was building the wall, I think he got pretty far with it. Do you think that would have helped a lot?
Well, the people are going to argue about the money. What's a cruise missile cost?
Yeah.
Why does it cost that? It's not the technology. It's because I charge you that.
Right.
You could have built, look at the price of any of the other hardware we make.
Yeah.
You could have built a wall to the moon. It's a fixed focus. I can look at that thing and say, that's there. You knew it's there. It's not like some of those places where it's the old wire shocker fence.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an actual wall.
You just don't throw a piece of carpet over it
and
come across. But, it doesn't help those countries that we do it. If you try to get them to do what they should do, which is they have to resolve the issues in their own country. A lot of those places, and I can't say all of them, but a lot of those places, if you're there, it's usually a land usage issue. Certain people own all the land, and they're not using it. And the people could farm it or something. I'm not saying it as a communist.
Right.
It would make sense as a valve on aggression to let them share crop like we used to do in the United States. It sounds grossly simple, but they don't even do things like that. You either work for the man or you don't work for the man. In a lot of places, you're either doing coffee or whatever, sugarcane, things like that. or you're not. That's agrarian. Their agrarian work. Chile, I don't think does it so much. They're pretty good. If you notice, most of the vegetables in the grocery store around here are usually from Chile.
Yeah, I do. I want to go to Chile and look through that microscope.
But Central America, it's just been a series of mismanagements all the way across the board, and they have to take responsibility. It's not always the big bad Americans. We sort of stepped out of that area in like the 70s, if you really look at it. Or let's give Reagan a little beating for that with the Contras. After him, we don't really do much there. Yeah. Before that, we overthrew, 4 governments down there? 5 governments?
Quite a few.
And then before that, they had their own governments that were out of control, that they had picked up from World War II surplus German intelligence officers and shit like that. The Perón government was bad. Pinochet was no dreamboat. Mostly they're killing their own people.
Yeah.
But it's the drug aspect that we have to deal with, especially...
It's the drug, the kids, the whole nine.
If you have anybody, or you can get him, Ed Calderon. Do you know Ed Calderon?
I don't know.
He does a lot of other people's shows. He was in the Mexican Federal Police or something like that. And he is like the #1 outside of the government person to discuss the Mexican narcotics industry. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you ever get to that point where you can find him, in fact, I could get you a number.
Yeah,
then
great.
He pretty much tells you how it is, which is, the government's tenuously running it. The veneer is wearing very thin, and something has to be done because their people are the ones that are suffering right now. I mean, how many tens of thousands, a year are getting murdered down there? When my mother was, did missionary in San Pedro Sula in Honduras. San Pedro Sula was the murder capital of the world outside of Iraq and Afghanistan.
Really? Honduras is a beautiful place.
But San Pedro Sula is on the supply line for the drugs.
Yeah.
So it was the MS-13 and the 8th Street Boys or something. It's another group that are just as bad.
Yeah.
They just don't have the television personality.
Yeah.
That
they don't get the media hype.
Yeah, they really got to step up their game, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the 8th Street or something like that.
8th Street? No.
That's them?
Something like that,
Yeah. So they all slug it out in San Pedro Sula. But they have a lot of issues as well. That was too bad he's not up here. The Archbishop for the Episcopal Church of South Florida, at the time his name was Leopold Friday. He's a Cuban. Him and another priest were the only 2 that were arrested by President Carter's federal forces during the Mariel boat lift. They went and bought a ship in New Orleans and went down to Cuba and negotiated with the communists for the release of political prisoners with money. Bring them back to New Orleans and they arrest them.
What the hell?
Because it's Carter, right?
Yeah.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
And him and his wife opened an orphanage down there on a landfill, because everything's always on a landfill, right? And it's mostly it's all for girls, because the wife realized that it was going to be an issue that the women would have to change the cycle of violence. Because women down there are murdered I'm surprised any of them go dating. So a lot of times it's the boyfriend
that whacks them out.
Boyfriend or the husband. It's not like we had in Mexico with that whole thing in Juarez where that.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was like 500 women or something like that.
Terrible.
And that got no play up here. During Me Too,
yeah,
I think you'd have to look into it, but I think one of those ladies tried to contact somebody in the United States, and they're like,
Nope.
Not happening. Was there a movie producer doing it? Yeah. Nope. Well, then we're not worried. So it was really sad that it was like they were just eating girls down there. And they actually were someplace. That was that one guy was the satanic guy who was working with the
I thought he was
cartel.
on that what's that? Fuco, what was that drug called? Fuco, when they were like eating each other.
Up the street here? Bath salts?
Yeah, it was called like Fuc something.
That's the trade name, I guess.
Yeah,
you have to go to Stab and Go and ask for it. It's in the back next to the 1970s porno that's half. Flocka, there you go. Flocka.
And now what'd you do in Thailand, Northern Thailand?
Well, I was up there. I was working with a company. That was agricultural, mostly agricultural stuff. And it was a great learning experience. I recommend anybody who wants to go someplace, enjoy themselves, not crazy like Hostel 5.
Right.
There is aspects of it, but it's not up there. It's a nicer climate. It's like here in the wintertime.
Yeah.
The people all very friendly. It was a different kingdom. The Thai country actually has a number of kingdoms that were assimilated into one kingdom.
Now, they do have like a metropolis, right?
Oh, Bangkok. Yeah. I don't know. 8 million, 10 million people at least. It goes on forever.
Yeah.
Like if they don't change the name. So what happened, I was dealing with a company here in New York that wanted to open an office there.
In Bangkok?
They did, I forget what it was called. Basically, they would send text to you about certain apps, or if you looked at a certain app on your phone, it would then know you did it, and they would send you a thing. Would you like this app? Answer these 6 questions, and we'll give it to you. Because they would give them the app. It was like data mining, but very high tier data mining.
Right.
And they wanted to do it in certain parts of Bangkok because the cross section of people that came through there was ideal. You had Arabs come through, you had the Thais, you had other Asians, Japanese, and Koreans and stuff like that, and of course the Westerners. And they'd all use either mass transit or something like that. So you'd have like a perfect storm for your data mining.
Now, did they want to do it in Bangkok so they push it over here and not?
Well, they were dealing with.
Shut down?
Were they dealing with one of the Arab companies? I'm not gonna say Emirates, but it was probably Emirates. But you can't say that because then they won't let me on the plane.
Not good.
But they wanted to do it. The partner's wife, unfortunately, as a trophy wife, felt threatened by letting her husband loose in a country with so many women that were single. And the answer to that was, well, this one section isn't called Bangkok, but it's Bangkok. I said, you can open the office there.
Yeah.
It's on the SkyTrain.
Huh? Bangkok.
Yeah, it's on the SkyTrain. You can open your office there and nobody will even know.
Yeah.
Because it's it would be like the next county over, but it's still the same town.
Right.
It just continues to grow. But any of those Asian cities, are always fun. I like the North. A lot of people like the South, but I live near a beach. Why would I want to go to another beach? Everyone's like, oh, let's go to Puerto Rico. I'm like, but I have a beach right here.
So is that why you like the North over the South?
Yeah, well, that, and you could do, there was a lot less pressure on you as a tourist to do touristy shit.
Yeah.
You didn't have the touts, guys, come on, I'll sell you.
I'll give you a ride around.
Buy you a Rolex and I'll sell you this and I'll sell you that. They're always out there, but, in the capital, it's crazy. And then with the beach communities, it's crazy. But, I wanted to understand that the Thais are Theravada Buddhist. It's the oldest version of Buddhism. So they practice that over there. The language that they use in the prayer work is actually a dialect of an old Indian language. So it'd be like going someplace where they're using Latin.
Yeah.
The Theravada Buddhists use this old, because Buddha's from India.
Yeah.
And then in the North, they also have elements of Ganesh. You'll see the Ganesh statue in a lot of places. And they think that was the Indians that came to work with the elephants, to domesticate the elephants to use for logging and everything else. But you don't see Ganesh in the South very much. Mm-hmm. And so you go there, and a lot of the times, if it's a decent monastery, a city like Chiang Mai, which is, I would tell you Chiang Mai is the best. A lot of temples. And a number of those temples, they have a program there that they do an outreach where the monks will speak in English because they're trying to work on English.
Yeah.
And they'll ask you questions, and then they have a very simplified form of what they teach. It's called Monk Chat. It was what the name of the thing was.
They're serious. Those monks are serious.
So, and it's a great, honestly, their system for where they are really works, because if you're poor, and there's so many people a lot of people don't understand what desperately poor is. In the United States, because nobody's desperately poor here. Not to the point where
you're living under a leaf.
Yeah, where you're living on a sidewalk or under a pile of corrugated something.
So over there, it's like you're either dead poor or you have money.
They depends where you are. The North has always been easier to live in because there's always agriculture. So you can always eat.
So you can always eat.
If you go to the Northeast, which is they call Isan, that's where they raise all the rice.
Yeah.
Chiang Mai has the pineapples and the longan and jackfruit and all the durians and the famous durian.
Yeah, I have a friend. Is there a difference between brown rice and white rice? Because I have a lot of friends in China and Philippines and a bunch of countries that, all they do is eat rice.
Yeah.
And they told me that there's no fucking brown rice, that it's all white rice, and it comes over here, and they just splash a little shit on it.
I don't know.
And that's 3 different countries that told me that: Pakistan, Philippines, and Bangladesh. And all 3 of them said there is no such thing as brown rice.
I'm not sure.
Now these are guys my age. So
they have jasmine, which is the good one.
Yeah, the jasmine. Yeah, with the little.
And then
purple.
there's another version, which is a stickier rice, because if you're in certain parts of the country, they don't use.
They eat with, my friend eats with his hands.
You get a handful of rice and you dab it into whatever else we have, and you eat that way.
First time I saw my buddy doing that, I said, "What the fuck?" I said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
He goes, "What do you mean?" You're eating like a whole meal with your hands.
Yeah, it's fun until it's like super hot pepper or something.
Yeah,
which everything is. But they eat with a spoon and a fork. They don't use chopsticks really, unless it's a noodle soup. So it's easier for the Westerners. Overall, the opinion of people towards the Westerners is unless you're like a total perv, which they can see right off the bat. But you can develop a lot of, like, I know people there going back to 1996.
Yeah.
I still see them when I come to town, or I try to see them when I come to town. Like I said, when those bars like Jules and all those places closed, that's where you'd meet everybody, because they're coming off of work. And even the Thais that speak English, there's only a few. I dealt with one lady in particular, totally fluent. She had gone to one of the English schools, so she spoke English with an English accent.
Oh, okay.
And for the difference in the nuances in the languages, it's incredible. She's a very rare person. And I was always surprised that the government or somebody didn't pick her up to use, because you don't get that level. The language between the two, a lot of the words are the same, but it's the inflection. So I'm terrible with it because I don't have a lot of inflection.
Like the ha or ha?
Well, it's like nam.
Nam.
Nam is water. Nam is ice. I think nam is also mountain.
The fuck?
But it's how you say it.
Water, ice, and mountain.
Because they didn't have ice. Doesn't really.
They
didn't have ice, I guess, when they came up with the word.
I'll just get a translator.
Yeah, but you can learn enough, and as long as you try, and the important thing with them is as long as you're polite, everything's fine.
So now you go over there with this app idea, right?
No, I was working with somebody, and that came up while I was there. No, we were up there because there had been an interest to export more of their products into a couple other countries. And also at that time, it was a prime minister named Thaksin who was in charge. He ended up buying a British soccer club.
Oh, wow.
And he was
call it football?
Yeah, football. That was because the army was trying to get a hold of him.
So that was your
so I was there with
that was your actual reasoning for
but he was developing where Northern Thailand and Cambodia and Laos come together. He wanted to put an enterprise trade zone that would use the baht as the currency of choice. I don't know if it ever got done because the fellow I dealt with died. But he was a big, there was a lot of big players. We used to call bicycle shop millionaires. Did you ever hear that term?
No.
If you ever seen it, it used to be like a joke with the Chinese. There's always some old guy in a T-shirt sitting in front of the bicycle shop, but he really owns the entire street.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to look like he has money because he's afraid of getting kidnapped.
Oh, shit.
So
yeah, good play.
That's how Anorak was. And he had made money with us during the war, and he was a smart guy, big, did really well in business. He had been in the lumber business. Teak was very, big with them for a while before it was illegal to log it. And he had a lot of irons and a lot of fires. And, he was always about it. That was why he came to the North. He said, I come to the North because they're all slow and lazy up here. So that was just because he was ethnically Chinese.
Yeah.
And in Thailand, your ethnicity is a big thing with them. So ethnically, he could look back and he could tell you he's from the North.
Right.
Right. If you saw women who were like the Miss Whoever pageant, they're always very, very pale. The really pale ones are theoretically have more the Chinese in them.
Really?
That's the theory. That's why they use.
Do you believe that?
that I just follow along. I'm not when I'm in the country, I do not dissent.
You're
and
not
I
a
don't
skin,
dissent.
you're not a skin scientist?
No, well, see, they also sell lightener there, which is bad. It's like a really mild form of acid to whiten the skin.
Is that what Sammy Sosa did and Michael Jackson?
Yeah, something like that. If you saw like, was it Jamaica or someplace they do it too? One of them, they put a chemical process on themselves to lighten their faces.
They put acid on them?
Well, it's like a lye or something. Face bleaching.
That sounds pretty fucking terrible.
Well, they were trying to get.
Have you seen Sammy Sosa? Wait till you see him.
Yeah, whatever happened to him is what some of them try to do.
Now, do you think he went and got whatever the hell that is on him?
Like a chemical peel. Yeah, he's really like. Is he ready for the crying game? I'm not sure what.
Dancing with the Stars. It looks like.
Is that what that is? I thought it was Crying Game 2. The knockout edition.
Now, do you think that's the acid shit?
I don't know, because that's, this is the stuff they sell there is like, it's not like hidden in a basement. They sell it right in the stores. But the idea
Look
being,
at his neck. His neck is darker than his face.
Well, that's what I mean. The idea is always like,
women would probably go crazy when they saw
Yeah.
that picture. Is my neck and my face match?
see, that's probably one of them.
What the hell?
See, that's like the desirable. See the girl in the air with the head split in the center? That's like the desirable one. The one on the bottom next to the black face, which is kind of racist. See that one?
Wow.
No, on the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
what happened to the fucking broad up there?
I don't know.
White skin.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's the acid got a hold of her.
Click on that. No,
That-
one word. She just got. No, up.
Where she's holding the things in
Yeah.
her hand. Yeah.
What in the fuck? Click on that link.
Whatever she was using probably
Jeez.
ate her skin.
Rob, you see this?
Yeah, that's Pattaya. It's down the south.
That's what?
That's down in the south. That's like the big party. If the U.S. military shows up in the country, it's
Yeah.
Pattaya Beach. It's not pronounced Pattaya. I just do it because I'm a fool.
So what? She put that on her face and just ate her skin
Ate her
off?
skin off, yeah. Because they use cheaper products. There's no FDA. There's no. I can sell a product on television or whatever. I could say drink this water and it's going to make your penis 4 inches bigger, and they can't stop me.
Yeah.
They don't.
Well,
They don't believe
Look,
in.
you're right. Thigh obsession with
Yeah.
white skin. Holy.
It goes back, I guess, to the agriculture thing. The lighter you are, the less you're out in the sun.
Well, I don't think she's light anymore. I think she's.
Yeah, now she's-
She looks like she was in a fire.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She's got like 2nd or 3rd degree. That's like a chemical burn.
Yeah. No, she looks like she was in a house that was on fire.
That happens all the
for
time
24
there
hours.
because they're not given any real information to work with. But that girl little. That's their used to be the big dream was that real pale, the long hair.
They want it to be that white.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. If you see the girl usually who's going to be Miss Universe, she'll look like
how do you
that.
pull that one off? Not being racist, but how do you pull that off?
I don't know, but that's
I guess the same type of way.
that's like I said. That's the goal. The funny thing was for years they didn't like.
Is that a real hand there?
Yeah, I guess it's whitening cream.
Holy hell. Milk.
Whiter than I am, and I'm white.
That's really disturbing.
What's
That's
that say, Rob? Skin
Wave-
whitening creams are.
yeah, it's multi-million
whitening creams are
U.S. dollars
Big
a year.
business in Southeast Asia with many brands competing to attract the millions of people obsessed with having a fair complexion.
Yeah,
Boy, man, I'd be a commodity over there, my complexion.
yeah. That's all they want to do is get about here
Yeah.
because certain parts of the country they're just naturally darker. If you go closer to Malaysia, they have a darker complexion, and the straight north is because of that influence. Like when people talk about the areas, like we have hill tribes up there. They're the original occupants of the country. The hill tribes are pushed out into the mountains by the people coming down from the north.
That looks like a damn ghost.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
If that person came up to me, I'd run.
And they do some nutty plastic surgery over there too. Not that crazy like South American nose. You ever see the
Yeah.
girls all get the nose and
I know people that went over there and they're like, I'm saving all this and the shit's out. You see that? They come back all fucked up, or they go get their teeth
they look
done,
like the cat girl.
and they last about a day.
Yeah, it's but they that's
Now,
their
what's their
obsession.
drug laws over there?
You go to
in
jail.
Do they really?
Oh,
in
yeah.
Thailand?
You go to the monkey house. Everybody does.
Really?
Marijuana's not so much, but heroin you're looking at forever. And yaba, which is their bathtub crank,
Yeah.
you're looking at forever.
What about like mushrooms?
Forever. They don't understand.
Really?
The guys in charge of the law don't really understand that. So you're going to jail forever.
You know, in the Philippines, if you get caught with weed, life.
Yeah. Well,
Life.
I have a guy there now, and that was one of the biggest things that they liked about Duterte was he started killing drug dealers.
In Philippines?
Yeah.
Yeah, my guy's in Manila.
Yeah.
Is that how you said?
Not that the thing is, it's not that he was putting them off the street. They were doing extrajudicial killing.
Yeah.
If you got caught with drugs, they give you a little bit of this.
Yeah.
And the crime is down dramatically from what it was before. Well, now it's the lockdown.
Well, look at Portugal.
It's yeah, but they're never going to legalize it. They have a penchant for methamphetamines. For some reason, that culture.
In Portugal?
No, like the Filipinos and the Thais.
Yeah. Oh, they're never going to let that go.
It's like, you know how the Aborigines shouldn't have alcohol because they go crazy?
Yeah.
They shouldn't have crank.
Yeah.
Because they all go freaking nuts. There's always one on a roof and they have to shoot him down. It's really never like a negotiation.
Yeah.
It's like he's on the roof and,
Have you ever seen it when you're over there?
Oh, you see it on television.
When you're over there?
Yeah. Well, they do it because it's just say no to drugs or we'll shoot you off the roof.
Now, when you watch it on TV,
that's how you say no. Say no, or you're going to go right off the roof.
Now, when you watch it on TV over there, do they play the whole thing?
Oh,
Here, like they'll cut it off.
You mean like Mexican TV where they show the bodies getting
Yeah,
flipped over
like they show the whole thing fall off.
I think so. I try not to watch their TV too much because it's even worse than ours.
Yeah,
but they have like telenovelas and stuff like that.
I just assume that to send a message to the people. Look,
well, they do the show. You'll see the police catch you. They sit you down at a chair and they'll have whatever your shit is in front of you, and then there's like 6 cops standing behind you, and you look a little scared because they probably just beat the shit out of you 5 minutes before they put you in front of this.
Yeah.
And whatever gun or whatever drugs, and they're like, look how much we got taken off the market today.
Yeah, and they add a little bit to it.
Yeah.
To make it look a little bit better.
Taste for me, a little taste for the sergeant.
Yeah.
And then they go about their business. But yeah, they did a lot of good stuff under the past king, the great king. He got a lot of the heroin business out of the business.
Yeah.
Because they'd done initiatives. There's still an issue, but it's not like it was.
Yeah.
Because the problem, as we know, is that farmer gets paid the same amount to grow tomatoes as he gets paid to grow opium.
Right.
So it doesn't matter to him.
It's the same
So
thing.
the incentive was stop doing it.
Yeah.
And, there you have the issue in Burma with it and parts of Laos and everything like that. The Shan State, what they call the Shan State, that used to be the big producer for the heroin. But now we don't need it because we have it from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It's like they sort of put themselves out of business by the U.S. war was so beneficial to the opium business that like heroin's free.
Yeah. I personally don't agree with the mushroom thing being illegal. I don't know, nor do I agree with federally the weed being illegal, which is just crazy.
It's got to you got to change it because that goes back to our Colombia story. There's been a number of people, probably on both sides of the border, that want to free that whole thing up and legalize the cocaine industry as an industry because they're not going to get rid of it down there. They would allow it to be manufactured in a correct environment, not a bunch of guys with a weed whacker in a hole.
Like FDA approved.
Yeah.
For over there.
And at that point, it would be sold into the United States under whatever guidelines and it would be able to be available. It would take all of Central America out of the equation, which would destroy them. It would destroy the last... I mean, everyone's like, oh, it'll ruin the cartels. Not really, because they're in oil sales. They are the...
Yeah, that's not their only business.
They're the shadow government in Mexico.
Yeah.
They are involved in tourism. That's why you could go on trips there and not have to wear a mask because Don Cisco says, hey, mask no es bueno.
Yeah.
So you're gonna not have to have them.
But I agree with you, and I think that would work and really make things. But politically, it would never happen.
They're but they have to realize if you look at the deaths that this whole business is going. I know nobody cares about who gets killed anymore. That's the problem. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
But that's why if you see it, there's a good book called The Accidental Guerrilla, which is a fellow who just dealt with Al Qaeda and all that. A lot of those attitudes. Frank Kitson also writes good books. He was the original counter insurgency guy for the British in the Malaysian war and all that. They don't call it the war, the Malaysian emergency or whatever.
Yeah.
The Chinese were backing the Malaysians against the British. Kitson was there to tell them that's not the way to go. And then he dealt with the Mau Mau in Kenya. But a lot of operational stuff comes from him. An accidental guerrilla follows the whole case that these kind of things have to be dealt with. You can't just lump everything under like the war on drugs. The war on drugs that I see is the heroin and the fentanyl right now.
Right. And the, what's the other one? The carfentanil.
Yeah.
The real bad one. Yeah.
Which are coming over on ships from China every day
Yep.
to Mexican ports or to ports in Canada and finding their way into the United States.
This guy is nuts opening up these borders.
Yeah. So
this guy's fucking everything up.
that's the thing. Do you want to take? You're going to take one leg out from under it. When we went to legalizing marijuana, I'm sure you can find a DEA. There's a few DEA agents that after the fact that said, look, the reason the violence went up is because the Mexicans aren't as whatever as the Colombians. The Colombians are kind of joiners, not super. The cartel idea for them is not the cartel idea for the Mexicans.
Right.
It's a totally different kind of operation. Those guys, when they started losing marijuana money, instead of calling up the next guy over and say, hey, we got to up our game on the heroin or the meth, they took what money they had in their shrinking amounts of reserves and hired more sicarios to go kill that guy.
Right.
So it brought on more violence, which caused more deaths because they never know who they're killing. They're just told to go kill 35 guys today.
They just go kill 35 guys.
Kill 35 guys.
Now, where...
So that's what, like I said, if you get Calderon, I'm grossly simplifying once again because there's always somebody who's going to complain. But if you took the cocaine out of it too, which is a problem in the United States, but health-wise, what is our biggest problem? It's probably going to be heroin.
Heroin, yeah.
Because you got to look at it. If you're looking at it, I guess strategically, I'm Mexico and I don't like America. The people may, I don't. I'm an elite running the country that I hold on to by my fingernails because I'm able to stay one step ahead of the cartels. As far, not that I'm outsmarting them, but I haven't had to co-opt myself completely.
Right.
Their Secretary of Defense we had to extradite him to the United States. We had him. The Mexicans made us give him back because he had been supplying them with cover for X amount of years to let the cartels move stuff across the border.
So now why would we give him back? We're not
They asked
obligated to
for
give
him.
No.
And because somebody says, well, it's jeopardizing a case or whatever.
I don't think...
the whole jeopardizing jeopardizing that case.
I think 6 months ago he wouldn't have got given back.
Well, that's what I mean. Trump would have been forced to do a lot more. He should have, if he had withheld money, he would have needed results. And what are the results is we have to realize that the guys running the place are barely running it.
Yeah.
It's not even, I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, I don't see it all. Colombia at the worst, the Bogota bombings, remember every day of car bombs going off, that was because of extradition. That was because we were trying to get the point where we knew who we wanted. The Ochoa brothers or Cachaca or all those guys. We knew who they were. We just needed to get our hands on them to bring them to the United States. Couldn't do it because the government wouldn't move forward, so they were blowing stuff up to intimidate them so that they would never allow it to happen.
To never allow us
to extradite.
To extradite.
That's not what you have in Mexico now. They're blowing shit up to blow shit up.
Just to blow it up.
Because, I've been up for 3 days. I'm one of your soldiers. I've been up for 3 or 4 days just doing yayo.
And now they're
and I'm making a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody to stop me.
I mean,
the police don't tangle with them.
No, and you can pay them off.
And they also build the soccer field for the kids. And they buy the lunches for the kids.
And fix up the roads.
And we had it in Brazil. If you're in Rio de Janeiro, they're called commands. The favelas.
Yeah.
Each of them is run by what they call a command. It's like a gang.
Yeah.
They're the law. If my maid at the time, somebody had a laptop. I told you the laptop thing. She had a little like this, which was a gift. Somebody stole it. Because the houses don't all have locks on them because you're in crappy, rundown places. She didn't go to the police. She went to the command, and she talked to, I guess, the equivalent of the block, the street captain.
Yeah.
And said, "Hey, I had this thing stolen. No problem." They didn't get that one back, but they got her another one because they can't afford to lose the goodwill of the community. They don't victimize their people. They victimize the idiots that are coming there to buy the drugs.
What's the crazy guy's name who just won? He was almost like Donald Trump, but like out of his fucking mind. Like his commercials had girls in bikinis on.
That's the best thing. What are you talking about?
No, it's awesome. No, I'm all
unity. He's a unity president.
I'd vote for him.
He was a unity president.
But he got stabbed or shot or something.
A lot of stuff happens to you. I know who you're talking about.
He won, though. Yeah. He won, and then they stabbed him, and he almost died.
Because you have to, that's what we don't see.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know you're talking about. I don't have his name off the top.
Rob, you got to see this shit. This guy was the guy who was running. What do they call it in Brazil? The president.
Mm-hmm.
The president of Brazil. His ad commercials would be him sitting there in a desk, and there'd be 3, 4, 5 girls in like string bikinis, while he's giving a speech for you to vote for him.
And they're listening the whole time.
And they're listening the whole time. Everybody's watching, and a fucking guy won. And after he won, they stabbed the fuck out of him. Type in president of Brazil. Bolsonaro. Maybe you can get one, and then put like with girls.
Or do Bolsonaro. There's a whole bunch of chicks with him down there. He's a popular guy.
But I mean,
there's a singer. She's probably at one of his things.
Yeah.
You try to get like the girl who is the number one samba girl and things like that. That's a big job. Like when you're the queen of the carnival.
Yeah.
That's like that.
It was so Rob. It was like that girl, but I mean with a string bikini on, 4 of them, around a desk while he's giving his speech why you should vote for him.
You got a lot of male votes, I bet.
Well, he won.
It's a culture.
And he barely won.
And they've been kind of Marxist for a number of years. The last couple of Dilma, she was a Marxist guerrilla and tried to kill that one on the left, Dilma Rousseff.
Who the hell is that?
When she was a student, she tried to kill a police officer. She was a Marxist.
And what's her position now?
She was the president.
She was the president?
Yeah, she was the president.
Oh, boy.
She was part of some assassination attempt when she was in school.
Oh. And she was the president.
Yeah, she was the president.
Oh.
She was from Belo Horizonte, which is...
well, she might as well come over here. She'd fit in.
Yeah, that was the state that most of the agriculture's done it.
Who's this wacko down there? Carmen Miranda? You know who that is?
Yeah, she was from... You don't remember her?
No.
She's an old-timey movie star.
Oh.
She used to wear the fruit basket thing on her head. She was the Chiquita Banana girl. I'm Chiquita Banana. See, don't you recognize? It's probably because you see nothing but men dressed like that these days in Carmen's outfit.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm confused. What the hell is that on her head?
I don't know. That was probably something folky from back where she was from.
Like earmuffs?
Yeah.
Earmuffs with a poof?
She had a that's not a good picture of her, but she had a serious body on her. That samba does it to him.
Scroll down a little bit. Rob, let's see if we can find a picture.
We don't want to objectify a woman who's long dead, but
she's dead. So
her lawyer can't get you now, right?
There you go.
But like the gold lame.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, Frank. Yeah.
See, bang, boom,
she was
pop.
built.
Yeah, they were all like professional dancers.
Still has that damn thing on her head.
Yeah, that was her look.
Is there any picture of her without the damn?
I've never seen.
She got a fruit basket in her head
on the left, the black and white.
Does this broad have a fruit basket in her head right there?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
Bananas is my business, and business is good.
Well, she's got more than bananas in her head.
Yeah. Yeah,
she's got half the damn orchid in there.
That was like super exotic at the time,
What year was this?
Oh God, she's what a late 40s, early 50s.
There you go.
What?
That's not her. That's some scary looking thing.
I mean, I get the banana thing, but then use bananas.
Are they bananas or star fruit? You've been down here too long when you're like, is that a star fruit? Or
yeah, right.
Not quite sure what that is.
Is that her there?
Yeah, that's all her. Every one of those. She was a contract actress.
I'm just trying to see.
A lot of those musicals.
What the fuck is that now?
It's a potted plant.
Jesus. It's 9 feet tall.
Yeah. Well, they used to, they didn't like scrawny girls.
Is that her there without the...
Yeah.
No. That's her without the thing on her head?
That's her, and who knows, probably the president of Ecuador.
I'll get over this in 2 seconds, Rob. Just let me see her, the one with the yellow. Yellow, that one.
That's not her.
Oh fuck.
No,
I give up on this world.
that's a newer girl.
Whatever. Keep your thing on your head. Hopefully you don't get
That's not
eaten
her
by
either.
gnats.
She was, she was typecast. She was unfortunately typecast as that.
And these are copycats.
Yeah, they're all copycats.
Yeah, well, she looks like shit. So.
Yeah, you can see the body drops off when they get newer.
Yeah. Father time.
That's the problem with
Father time and copycat.
a lot of these young ladies today want to be that person, but don't want to have to work to be that person.
Yeah, they just want to take a picture and put it on Instagram and be that person.
Yeah. Thank God for that. Keeps everybody busy during the day, right?
Right. So what are your thoughts on mushrooms and acid and like the psychedelic end of it?
Yeah, they were just, like, the acid stuff went around when I was in school, and mushrooms were big in college, and I don't think the quality was there. The acid stuff was a little bit because at the time we were living in Burlington County, New Jersey, which was a backwater.
Yeah.
If you know where that is. If you do, I feel sorry for you. But that was they were telling, these guys were telling me the different stories. And I said that the time they had it, we were down the shore. Down the shore. Because you always want to have a positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
And they...
Because that's the whole thing, right? You got to be in a good environment.
We went to a place that had a boardwalk with all the rides and stuff. I was telling her, so we were really pretty much further along on that one at that point, and we got onto the whatever that egg beater scrambler thing.
Now, are you on acid right now?
Yeah.
Or are you on mushroom?
Yeah.
You're on acid.
Yeah.
Acid.
So we were,
like the piece of paper.
Yeah, blotter.
Oh.
And so we're getting this thing, and it's in a dark room. I don't know if you remember what this Jersey Shore place.
I know what you're talking about.
And they had like
you're out of your mind to get on that.
I've
never done it. But.
The black light posters, like the Hermit from Led Zeppelin, and all that. All that kind of stuff, and the music is incredibly loud. And I thought we were in there for like a day or two, because we were just screaming, ear-splittingly loud music, the flashing lights. Everybody's just
seeing all kinds of shit.
We're just screaming because they're having the best time ever, just screaming our freaking heads off. And it starts comes an end. The guy's like, "Hey," he was like Mr. Microphone. "Hey, you guys look like you're having a good time in there. We'll let you go again." And I was like, "Oh yes, oh yes." It's like you sound like a little girl. "Oh my God, thank God for that." And he just speeds it back up, and everybody's back to screaming as loud.
Now,
as
how can you handle that when you're tripping?
Because
and you're spinning in circles.
It's a lot of it's the mind. You have to be in a positive state going into it.
Were you seeing things?
No, you get the trails and all that kind of stuff. That real sugar cube stuff we never really saw, where they actually had the liquid.
Yeah.
I don't think that was even around at that point. I mean, not in the area that we were in. The shrooms were out there and they were fun. When I was in Colombia, there was ugly rumors about an ayahuasca ceremony, but we couldn't make it happen.
Have you ever done ayahuasca?
No, we were trying to get that arranged because the Indians are allowed to do it. So the government has to know you're doing it. You can do it all your own all you want, but once you involve tourists and stuff,
it's a little bit different.
They don't want you killing the tourists, because maybe you're making the skin whitener. You're adding some of the skin whitener in there with the ayahuasca.
You put a pitch of that shit in there. Right?
Yeah, next thing you know, you're done. But they have a lot of, you'll see these like resorts, and there's team building for corporations that go to these things. Because they're charging the places that are the team building ones. Beautiful little place, definitely Western. I think they're like $1,500. So that's more money than the average Indian is going to see.
Now what is the difference between ayahuasca and like psilocybin?
That I'm not, like I said, that was the way we were going. The West Coast guys, like I said, that brings you back to Thompson. Thompson was a big hallucinogen user.
Yeah.
And he thought it was making him write better, or at least allowing him to expand
his mind,
his ideas of what he was looking at as perceptions of reality.
Yeah.
And that was more of a California thing, I think, than, they'll say whatever it is, but it was more of a West Coast versus East Coast drug scene.
Right.
In the old days.
Now, have you done the psilocybin?
No. It's, the only thing they had back at that time was like they had hash, real Lebanese stuff. and that and the marijuana was always horrible when you were younger.
Yeah.
There's a
what
lot.
we used to call it shake. And,
Yeah, this is all like twigs.
What we
and
used to call it up north. Twigs. It would be
Yeah.
like
the shake was whatever was left at the bottom, right?
brown, or
It was garbage, but
like you'd have to like look and pick out the seeds and shit. Yeah.
that was why you had to have the double album.
Yeah.
They'd do that and
Yeah.
run it up to one side, and they would. That was famous. That actually showed up in. It was a joke. It was in a Monster Magnet song. It said, "I got to buy a new copy of Zoso."
Yeah.
Is this Caesar busting up the side?
Right.
So.
So what mushroom did you do?
I don't know whoever.
Just like a regular
whoever
one?
gave it. Yeah. Whoever. I
Whatever
didn't
was
actually.
there?
What would occur at Temple at the time before they, I guess they have whatever they have now is. Most of the guys would go home on break or something to wherever they lived. At that time, we drew mostly from Western Pennsylvania, not so much New Jersey. I came over from New Jersey, but I was originally from Philadelphia, so it was not a big deal for me to go there.
Yeah.
These guys would go back to the woods wherever they lived. And for some reason, the hillbillies always had mushrooms.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they always had it. And so they'd bring it back. Oh, man, I got this deal, all this kind of stuff. I need $17. It'd be an odd number. Dude, who's got $17? And you'd have to front them the money and all this kind of stuff. They'd come back and then, whatever event we had coming up, we would do it like Red Hot Chili Peppers played our. We used to have really good bands because they weren't known at the time.
Yeah.
And they would play at Temple. Now I'm sure it's garbage. But they used to have an outdoor event, the Spring Fling event.
They still have that now, Rob?
And they used to have the bell tower. I think they got rid of. That's where everybody was.
Yeah, Spring Fling.
That was like ground zero for people that were wrecked. Was at the bell tower, and then we would flow back towards the.
I lived in the shitty
the
gyms,
houses.
the Johnson and Hardwick.
Oh my God!
You know where that is?
Yeah, no, I didn't get that because I transferred. I lived in Temple Towers,
Towers,
which was I think a housing project. Wasn't it a housing project before Temple bought it?
Yeah.
Because the one year, first year I was there, we were on the 4th floor. They had a problem on the 1st floor. They cut the wall and all these dead rats fell out because they poisoned them up in the top of the building and they just fell down through the walls.
My buddy lived in Temple Towers, and this was 2003, 2006 in that area. They still had rats in Temple Towers. Still,
It was, you didn't leave food out. And not that we had huge amounts of food, but that, when I was there, it was in the 90s, early 90s. And then we moved from there to Diamond Street, which was 1400 block of Diamond, which now I think is a Phi Sig house, was our old place. And then I moved from there to 2133 North Broad, which is now the Rite Aid. That was a Catholic church, the rectory, and a convent. 4 buildings, and one fraternity rented one building, we rented the other, and the minister who ran the whole place had his office in the one next to the church. And this guy used to wear a full-length fur coat. He had a Stutz Victoria, 2-tone Stutz Victoria, with a gold crucifix in the front window, this big. Jerry curl, big mustache, always in a suit. He would get lit, and he'd go out in the back and shoot the shit out of this other building that he owned.
Like gun shoot?
Yeah, like he would do whatever drugs,
Yeah.
and he would go out the back door, and he'd be shooting at this other building that he owned, which was the Catholic school that went with the whole property. And he was something, man. I mean, I was the guy in charge of the building, so I had to pay him in cash in an envelope, and he'd have cameras in the hallway of his building. He never came out. You're like, hey, Rev, and he'd get on the microphone. He had the old Motorola.
Yeah.
Like, who's out there? Well, who do you think's out here? And he's like, slip it under the door, Frank. So I slipped the money under the door. Never got a receipt, that kind of thing. And we were there for, I guess, 2 years. And then I left, and they screwed up somehow, and he sent his boys in, and they kicked everybody out and sold all their shit.
Holy shit.
Like he just sent some ruffians.
Yeah.
They're like, hello. And they just went in and took everybody's clothes and gave them to the poor and all this stuff. Just really a nightmare. But he was something. He was the best old timey. He used to have a picture of himself, like huge picture, with Jesus, and he used to wear a cape on stage. When he's doing his show, he's wearing this cape over his suit, and he's like coming after Jesus like this. I guess he was supposed to be worshiping, but it looked like he was trying to throw a spell on him or something. Man, that was the best thing ever.
Now
I learned you got more business.
I would say that's the narcissist.
Yeah, but they loved him. He had like 90% women at his shows.
I'm sure he did.
Because we had him, and then the Met in the old days, they had this other preacher. Because that side of Broad Street, when Father Divine was alive, he had everybody in his place. I don't know if you remember Father Divine, the Divine Lorraine, that big hotel.
Mm-mm.
Divine was like the first interracial couple anybody didn't have a problem with, because he married this white girl, the White Princess. I think she changed her name later to Mother Divine. But they lived in a chaste environment, because later on, Father Divine told you he was a resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That didn't come out in the first couple weeks. He was saving that one for Sweeps Week. But he used to do a thing called the Endless Banquet. This is back when everybody was still poor. And you came to his sermon, and then they had this big chow hall, and you could eat as much as you wanted. He didn't care who you were. You could sit down anywhere, and he would serve you. And he had such rapport with the poor people in that community. Even when he died and they left and they still owned the building, they weren't really breaking into it.
Yeah.
Normally they go in to get the copper out and all that kind of stuff. They didn't really touch the Divine Lorraine till, I guess, Mother Divine was on her way out. But they had that's one of those you should look at, because it was, first of all, an interracial couple after World War II. Talking 50s,
unheard of back then,
50s,
yeah.
60s, 70s, And he was only like this, he was a very short guy. And he did a lot, he was on the radio before everybody was on. He had a lot of wealthy white people. They used to give him houses. He had houses like out in Chester County, I think it was. $1 million properties.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar properties.
That's him there?
Yeah, that's him. That's her. So they never supposedly consummated. But he was the man. He was like the original big, like almost televangelist, I guess you could say. And he had an integrated audience. There's the Peace Mission movement. That's what they would do.
That's cool, though.
And now it's a hipster freaking apartment building.
He's got a nice hat, nice shoes on right there.
Oh, he wasn't poor.
Nah, he looked good there. He looks slick.
He was the opposite.
Slick.
He was the opposite of poor, but
All right, my man.
he could hold an audience. That's one of their houses, I think. Right
I'm all
there.
right with those shoes.
See
and He
that
looks
big
good.
castle-looking thing?
And he's got the pocket thing in it.
Yeah, that's one of their houses there. That was donated to him by some wealthy guy back in the old days. So what's it worth now, right?
Go, Rob. Go to the Iron Sport and scroll down.
Oh,
What were you doing? Fighting?
No, I don't even. Well, where?
Scroll down.
Probably surgery, cancer surgery or something like that.
Looks like a nice cigar.
Yeah, that was.
Is that Cuban?
That's in Medellin. There's Cava de Puros.
What is that? Oh, yeah.
It's in the El Poblado section. They have, unfortunately, the people working there don't know to throw cigarette butts out.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. They smoke half the fucking.
Your $35 cigar. The kid with the blonde hair is the one I told you about, Salim. Salim Bey.
Oh, he's hitting.
Where's he from? Philly?
He's Philadelphia. He's a young guy.
Man, they got some good fighters, right?
He moves like an adult. I think he's 13 or 14. His father's his coach. That's not his father. His father's probably taking the video.
He's 13, swinging like that.
Something that, yeah. He's been at this since he's 9, I think. But that's not the gym that he trains in now. That's another gym.
I mean, at least the kid's trying to hit back.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have a number of these. That's why I wanted to get something like almost like a traveling team.
Yeah.
To do like some good, because they don't get the chance to fight. The fellow I deal with who's a professional, his name's Paul Kroll. Paul was on the national team, so he had already fought like 70 fights or something before he went pro. He was on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
I think he ended up alternating because of
and
the
the kid with the wife beater on, that's who you're thinking.
He's a really
in the next
good,
Olympics possibly.
probably after, because he's not going to be old enough. He'd be 17, so maybe
17.
21. You want him?
How old do you got to be in the Olympics?
I think it's 18. Well, you never know, because some of these countries, they just sort of
It's called a fake ID.
it kind of, I had that I don't actually, I don't use that stuff for what I do. That's just for the sports side. Any of the politics stuff and all, I don't use the Instagram. I only use the BitChute stuff and all that.
Yeah, but when I was researching, go down. I guess it was surgery.
Yeah, that's Salim on the left, and
On the
then
left.
that's Torres on the right. Torres is now going to do something else. But I was making a lot of the clothing.
Yeah.
That's made down here in Florida. That's made over in unincorporated Pompano, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, just, I want them to look good when they're out there.
Yeah. Scroll down.
There's it's me dying. That's probably cancer. That's what it,
Oh, is that it?
That's Paul on the left. Yeah. He's a pro. He's 6-7 fights in now. He's knocked out almost everybody. He's undefeated. I think he's got 6 out of 7 he's got the knockout on. The kid hits like he's 35, 40 pounds heavier than he is.
How long do you think until he's got a real fight coming up?
Oh, he's fought some people. He's got another fight. He was supposed to fight when I was up there, but he ended up having the COVID. So that took him out of it. And
he got the COVID?
He didn't really. The test his daughter had. But
so he was probably asymptomatic, and just because he was around it,
they don't want to do it. Yeah, but he's that's one of my that's when he used to wear them. Now he wears all the gaudy, all the gaudy stuff. But no, I started out doing
maybe it's on Facebook.
Oh, that's Norman. Now let me tell you, if you could ever get him. He was my first model, Norman Bates, the death row inmate. He's a black ink cover boy from like 2-3 years ago. The kid's built like a brick shit house, and the camera loves him. And I can't imagine why somebody national hasn't picked him up. It's just ridiculous. I mean, Rustin's seen him. If you go down, there's probably another one heads up, but he's completely covered. He's like every
inch of his body.
Yeah, he's what everybody doesn't want their kids dating, probably.
I was looking at
that's him there.
That's him. Damn.
Yeah, and he's much more cut now. That's like a year and a half ago.
Where does he live?
He was in Philadelphia. I was trying to get him down here to be he wanted to do like a hype man thing. At one point, he was doing all the club stuff. He comes out as a host. But in Philly, it's too hectic.
Yeah.
You don't want to get murdered every time you go out.
No.
And, he's past all that stuff now.
Yeah, when I left Philly.
But anybody needs him for modeling, let me know. I'll hook you up. He was in Men's Fitness.
Well, look at
or Men's Health. He had signed a contract X amount of years ago for the photos. And every so often, his picture shows up in
something.
Like, how do I take care of...
He is thick and ripped as
How do I take care of...
Right there. What the hell happened here? Up.
That's cancer.
Oh, man.
What kind of cancer is that?
Skin cancer. But what happened was they cut into the one of the arteries, so it filled my eyes up. Both of them are filled up in that. That's why now they're permanently baggy, and this one sort of droops a little bit.
How did you know you had it?
Yeah, I can.
I had to go in and get checked. If you're down here, you should always go. I'm going tomorrow to get this cut off before it turns into a whole thing.
What?
This is cancer. Right there.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, you get it. It's a tax for I worked outside for 20 years.
Yeah.
So like it's not from Florida. That's the worst part. It's like, oh, it should have come to Florida.
Now when
I got that in working in Atlantic City.
Did you have was there a mark somewhere, like a melanoma mark, or
they had gone in because I had originally had polyps up in here from whatever, and because of the industry that we're in with all the grit and burns and everything. Yeah, that's my Match.com picture. That's what I'm not out there.
You should do pretty well.
I'm not out there, I need loving. And there's Big Herc. Shout out to Big Herc.
Well, hey, you got street cred.
Yeah, so I mean that's no, he's great. I got
Big Herc?
You know Big Herc?
You got a gym up there.
No, Big Herc is in California. He does the Fresh Out. He does the penitentiary shows. He did
Fresh
10
Out,
years.
Fresh Out. Boziak was on Fresh Out. A friend of ours, Boziak. Yeah.
My friend, I got Ron Razul on there. And Ron did a show with him recently. It really blew him up. He's a trainer as well in Philadelphia.
Yeah, where's he at? Fresh Out.
California. Outside of Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah, Fresh Out.
So he needed...
You know him.
Well, I know him enough.
You know
that to send people... No, I send people to him.
Oh, you send people to him. Wow.
What Herc's problem was the California system is not the same as the East Coast system.
Yeah.
And he needed somebody who had been in, not federal. He did federal time.
Yeah.
So he wanted somebody who'd done hard state, and Ronnie had done 5 or 6 state and 5 or 6 federal. So he was at Graterford.
Yeah.
I think before. No, I don't think it was before.
Yeah,
It was
Graterford.
before it changed names.
Yeah.
I think Ron was in the new one.
It's still Graterford. You go.
Now it's Phoenix.
It's Phoenix.
They changed the name because it's such a shit place. They don't want to talk about the old.
Graterford. So, yeah, that's a shithole. Because the way it was before was you'd be in the county and then you go to Camp Hill.
Yeah.
And then you wait to get transferred, and you just
Yeah.
hope that you weren't going to end up in Graterford.
I had guys that worked for me that ended up there, and that was good fighter, good dancer.
Yeah.
That's Lumpini Stadium. That's me, incredibly overweight from drinking beer for like 6 weeks nonstop. 'Cause every time I'd walk down the street and I'd run into somebody, you have to stop and have 10 beers.
How fast was this kid?
He was number 2 in the country, I think, at that time.
Yeah, he looks fast, right?
They're all that big. That's the problem. When we did the promotion,
that's your dude right there, right?
yeah, that's Paul. They
he looks a lot thinner there.
oh, that's a younger
Picture. Yeah, that's what.
younger Paul.
Awesome.
The tattoo gets bigger every picture. I think he gets one after the fights. He continues to add to it. Yeah, see, or I recycle them.
He still looks nasty, even
Yeah.
at that weight. I mean, he looks.
He was before he went pro. He had a time where he wasn't working out. I think he was close to 170, and then he went down to 138. But he was
Who's that? Who's that guy?
yeah.
Screaming at the camera.
Rustin,
What's he saying?
see, that's why I don't do my own ads, because everybody else I have is like 6% body fat. So Rustin took the bullet for me.
What's
And,
up, you maniacs? It's your boy Rustor. I'm here in the studio, pounding the fuck out of these drums. I'm over here. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Frank and everyone over at Iron Age Powerwear. They make some of the sickest shit in the game. Check them out. What's up, you metal maniacs?
You never
It's your
saw
boy
that?
Rustor. I'm here in the studio, pounding the fuck out of these drums. I'm over here. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Frank and everyone over at Iron Age Powerwear. They make some of the sickest shit in the game. Check them out. What's up, you metal maniacs? It's your boy Rustor.
Yeah. That's because the drummer sweats so much. That material was a wicking material. So we crossed. That was the crossover.
Rustin Gross, who I spelled his name wrong for about a month.
Yeah.
Fucking thumbnail and yeah.
If you need them,
Sean's
guys, jump in there now. Whoever has a spare movie
Jesus
contract.
Christ.
Like a bad motherfucker.
Yeah,
He's a bad motherfucker.
he's a big Tupac fan.
Well,
So if you want to do
right.
a Tupac film, there's your guy right there.
Get him in here.
We had when we did this photo session. This is the kind of guy he is. We do the photo session. I get him down there. We shot it at Drexel.
yeah.
My photographer. Actually, if you remember the movie Dogma,
yeah.
the Buddy Christ is modeled on Dave Deneen because Dave built the thing for the movie. So the guy who is Buddy Christ is shooting Norman. He shows up. He's got like $80-some thousand worth of jewelry on because that's how he rolls. I mean, and it's for real, this, that.
Yeah.
I he goes everywhere like that. His level of not giving a fuck.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna
shoot him, there's
Yeah.
not much you can really do with him.
You know who he looks like? LeBron James. He looks like LeBron James.
He's
but
a thinking man's LeBron James.
wow, I know. I'm saying like he's got a similar build. But
Yeah.
remember Bernard Hopkins in his prime?
Yeah, I can see that.
That Bernard was kind of built like that. Not this guy is a little bit.
I was at an LA Fitness in Philadelphia.
You're not knocking him out.
I was at an LA Fitness in Philadelphia
you are.
because I had no place else to go to the gym because I wasn't at Sporting Club anymore. And he shows up, and him and his buddy, and he's wearing work boots and jeans, and he stiff leg. I don't know if he knew it was a stiff leg deadlift at the time, but he stiff leg deadlifts about 400 and some pounds, like 15, 20 times because the friend was high and couldn't get the camera on him right. So I'm watching this go on, and he's just like, "Yo, man, you got it." He wasn't like he was tired. He was just getting frustrated that the guy
I wasn't like paying attention.
And I said, "Hey, a little work on this. We could get up to 500, no problem." And that's when we first started talking. And that's what a lot of people don't do is you have to be if you're interested in a sport or something. When I first was going to years ago when we were in the gym, that's Japan Jackson. He's pretty funny too. He's changed his name to Japan. That's his actual name now. As Norman again. But, I was going to do a billboard with him
Yeah.
because I wanted to frighten most of Center City
Yeah.
by having him up on that.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get at that time, all the bigger chains stopped dealing with small companies like Macy's and all them had said, look, we'll carry your stuff in there, but we're not going to give you any money up front. We're not going to buy your stuff. Basically, they would do.
You have to front it to them.
You would do a boutique setup. They're still doing it. I don't think it's working out for them. The other Puerto Rican guy is Nick Hernandez. He just fought in the Dominican Republic. A little bit further down, up. If you go up, that kid on he's from Allentown. He just fought in the Dominican Republic yesterday or so, and he fights out of Puerto Rico off and on. Really nice guy. He's got put his own program together. So he's generating his own income. He's trying to get his own fights. He's trying to put his own young team together. So he's a real, really trying to be an entrepreneur. That's why I support, may not be the best and the brightest, but they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. It's so hard.
And they're staying out of trouble too.
Yeah, it's so hard to get past that point, especially, I'm not wheeling and dealing with $40 million. They get what they get.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to get some, I always tell them the same thing. I'm not keeping any of his stuff. You don't have to sign anything with me. Everybody gets a copy of everything I shoot the next day. If when I do these shoots.
What weight class is he?
Paul's a welterweight.
So what's that? He's what?
138, 136, something like that. Yeah, he get in the ring with him. He breaks bones. No, I'm serious. He cracks
what
ribs.
What do you think?
He will crack. If he gets.
What do you think he weighs, Rob? Before you tell us.
Hold on. This guy? Him?
No. The Jack guy.
Norman?
Him?
No, yeah.
I'm going to go with 170.
No way. I would say
Way down.
Way down?
Mm-hmm. He's not as tall as you think he is. He's not 5'3", but he's not
155.
He's not 6 foot. I think he's around
155.
He just was 6, so I think he's around 138.
138.
138, 140. He's
Small legs.
He's like 4% body fat.
I don't give a fuck.
Now he is. That picture.
138.
That picture. He's a little bit heavier. I don't think he's ever been over 150. I'd have to ask him.
Wow, I would have never said 150.
At this,
That's a big boy
a
for
year and a half
150.
ago. He had gotten. He his whole life is on Instagram. So I'm not telling you anything. He still probably does. He used to smoke so much that he ended up getting that respiratory thing that they were all getting from all the strong weed.
What's he got it blocked?
Yeah, you can't go. He only broadcasts out. Nothing comes in.
That's stupid.
No, Rustin's seen the stuff that comes out of him. He's a
maybe it's good for him that he does.
No, it's just that he trolls an entire city when he does his stuff because he's like.
But wouldn't that be good for him?
When he was in New York, like the hip hop police used to go after these guys and all that, and like I said, it's hard to explain the phenomenon. It's like a phenomenon with that guy, and that's why I don't understand why he never got picked up, because he's like he can be like that 24 hours a day if he has to. It's not an act.
I hate to say this, but it's probably the look. They're probably scared of the look.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. He could have ended up, in a Van Damme movie if it was 10 years ago.
They're probably just. I mean, I hate to say
that's the Norman I know.
that is not 135.
No, that's probably closer to 150. But now, like I
that's
said, that was an
minimum
old picture.
150.
I didn't take that picture. That was, I think, when he was doing Black Ink. There's a.
What does his head tattoo say?
I don't know which one.
It says
which one it is.
Bipolar. I don't know. I
I don't know.
Untouchable or something like that.
It's faded out now. They put like Vaseline on you or something
Yeah.
to bring it back up.
Yeah.
Because we had to, when we did the back shot of him, I didn't do this shot. When we did the back shot of him, we had to bring it up afterwards because somebody else did that too. But Lugo.
It's kind of a shitty picture. You did? No.
Yeah, but see, like I said, we just ended up with a bunch of other crazy stuff at the beginning. That's, like I said, that's just normal personal stuff. I don't do a lot of any of the business. I mean, the business stuff is the fight stuff. That's done on there, but any of the other video stuff I don't do on there.
And then go over to...
I did like the intermittent fasting video. I had a video with Paul and Ron because there was a fight between Thor, the mountain,
Yeah.
and Eddie Hall. So I had them discuss what would have to be done for them to actually make a legitimate fight. And after Ron did that, he went on to the Big Herc show.
Yeah.
And Herc really does help a lot of these guys. I mean, it helps him, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he's trying to show you, there's other things to do other than be a gangster.
Yeah.
And most of the people on there have rehabilitated themselves in some way, shape, or form. I don't think he has anybody who's like, I'm back on the street, yo.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
more people that recovered and what they maybe went through and things like that.
And that's, now he does custom car channel and some other shit. So
yeah.
He's really turned himself around.
Yeah, two of my friends were on there. John Boziak and I think Matt Cox. I know John Boziak was on there, but I think Matt Cox was on there.
We were happy.
That guy.
We were happy because he switched over.
That's why I fucking spelled his name wrong. See, I can't fix that one, but
Weston Floss is his porn name, so that was probably you may have had him mixed.
I'm gonna blame it on
up.
Sean.
That was when he worked for the Falcon Corporation.
Frank, when I saw your profile picture, I thought, oh, God, is this guy going to come in here and kill me?
No, that was my third strike. I put that up when I got my third strike.
Oh, with the black ball?
Facebook was mad at me since...
What the hell is that?
It's Colonel Kurtz.
Oh.
That was a Halloween theme.
I like him.
But they during the presidential debates, when Joe Biden said that Trump is like Hitler...
Yeah.
Because we were doing like a live thing,
mm-hmm.
I said Trump, like who first one to go to Hitler. It's like Kevin Bacon, 5 steps to Hitler. I was banned the next day. They banned me that night, and they didn't tell anybody. They don't send you a notification. I went on to do something,
and it was just
gone. It was gone.
Yeah,
and then they went back, and what did I say? My last strike was something that happened 2 years ago.
Yeah,
they went back in all of my posts 2 years to give me another strike. I can't send, if you know how you do the messenger.
Yeah.
I can't send like most links through there. I can't send BitChute links through there. I use a company called Southfront, which is a Russian, they're kind of propaganda, but they handle a lot of the military situations the Russians are in. So if you're trying to comment on like the war in Ukraine, they refuse to handle BitChute. I mean, they refuse to handle Southfront.
Mm-hmm.
And it just says you can't use it. And you can't post to them either.
Yeah.
I have for one day, everything I tried to post would not go through. So I said, screw it. I got this dumb little MeWe page, 21 followers, yo. That's probably like the third largest MeWe page, by the way.
Well, they took Parler off of iPhone.
Yeah. You're running out. And that's where we come down. That's where it's coming down to is where can you go? I mean, I spoke with guys even here in the opposition party. And I said, they're going to deplatform you right before the election because there's going to be a lot of money out there right now against Rick DeSantis.
Yeah.
Tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's not like $5 million.
Well, they know
tens of millions.
They know how good he is.
And they also want him out because they want to keep messing with Trump.
Yeah.
I don't
understand why they just don't let it go.
Well, that was a video.
They got what they wanted.
I was happy with and we want to change the referendum here. Palm Beach, when they were dicking with him about the usage of his property.
Yeah.
That was an appointed position guy. That was nobody that could get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said, hey, could you do me a favor and go screw around with the president of the United States about the usage of his property? If you remember, that was that whole thing for like a week.
I know.
And all I said to the other guy here was, well, then you put the word out that you're going to go examine every other agreement for every other house in this town because they all play games. Nobody goes in front of the board in that section of the city. Would they? No. It's like me with Hillsborough, the Hillsborough Mile.
Yeah.
Nobody even knows who lives there.
Yeah.
They're just gigantic. What are they? The cheapest one was like $45 million.
I know. They're
$5 million.
They're absolutely insane.
The new one was over $200 million.
And whoever bought it probably stays there 3 months a year.
It's a piggy bank.
Yeah.
When you get deposed or whatever happens to you, that house is never going to go away.
Yeah.
People don't get that about here is as long as it's not narcotics, they won't take your house here.
Yeah. Well, that's why everybody has homestead.
Yeah, Tycho, remember when Kowalski came down your county?
Yeah.
He built that ugly house. I thought it was part of the golf course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he had all that stolen art and everything in it.
Yeah.
And it was because he knew when he got out of wherever he was, Allenwood or whatever,
Yeah, oh yeah.
making wallets and comb sheaths.
Yeah, they got Allenwood Low, Allenwood Medium, and then they got the penitentiary right there. And the Supermax used to be there.
Yeah, well, he's probably in the arts and crafts department, but he did whatever it was, 6 months or something.
Whatever it takes to get some points to get something.
And he got out, and I think he sold the house like, he's out. There's nothing against him.
Yeah.
Boom, house gets sold for $60 million. Now he's got $60 million. I know that's a loss for a guy like that.
Still.
But, $60 million more than the people that he victimized had.
Well.
So
now, if I want to get any of your clothing, I'm
out of the clothing business for.
You're out of the clothing business?
Right now, I was dealing with two of the bigger companies that do distribution. They're over here in Broward County. When COVID came out, because I do the socks and all that other stuff. Like the socks are manufactured in Pennsylvania. I do medium compression sports socks, things like that. I can make dozens, stuff like that. Nobody's buying because they're trying to get rid of the existing stock that they have. And for what I do, the suits and everything are like a prestige thing. I make them for the guys because I deal with them. I believe in them.
Right.
And, the real money for me would be in the hosiery because there's no mural markup on that stuff because I'm not going to order. I'm not Nike.
Yeah.
People don't understand it. You want to end up being more of an event-driven company.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was doing strongman. So one of those guys in there is only Mark Hansen, who was the strongest man in Norway 4 years running. So he was trying to put a thing together. I would go and do all the outfits for all the competitors and for all the judges. And then for the staffs, it's like 50 people. So it would be whatever it would be, $8,000.
Yeah.
Because you have to have changes. People they think it's, as you know, you have to be professional when you do things. I learned that when we did film. If you don't treat it like it's professional, nobody else is going to treat it like it's professional. I do a little shoot like I did with Norman. I had the photographer. He had an assistant. We had a lighting package. We had that prison backdrop because we were thinking about doing other things with it. We had the craft services. People say, oh, who cares about that? Everybody who comes to your set and doesn't see certain things, it doesn't
impress them.
Yeah.
To make it simple.
I'm not saying that we had to have like mugs
17 bottles of Patron.
Yeah.
Right.
But the point was you have to have something there to show that you care enough about the talent.
Right.
And that's been the issue with all these things, the Instagrams and everything.
And something that makes you unique.
Yeah.
That makes you different from another company or another agent, manager, whatever you want to call it.
And you see it like even with these the Instagram girls.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them are floating on the edge of escorting. There's kind of OnlyFansing, and once that starts, next thing you know, the camera's a little lower, But they'll do us. We used to have them. They'd go to Bali or Phuket is a big place for it, and the guy shoots. Because he has money, he shoots these girls over a period of days, and then he just puts them on Gram or something, trying to get into the big leagues. Because photography, how competitive is that?
Yeah.
In what world have we not taken every angle of photograph by now?
Yeah.
That's the problem they have with art. How many more, when they went to multimedia, it was because, the kids didn't want to learn the talent to be able to paint a horse. Picasso could still paint a horse. He just didn't paint one.
Yeah.
Today the kids are like, oh, I don't, Picasso, first of all, they don't know who that is. Usually it's Warhol is like as old as it gets. But, this stuff now, I'm just going to hold off for that. We have Junior Olympics coming up in July. I'm going to see what I have left over. I got to go through some issues now. My mother died last March.
Sorry,
but I haven't been able to get through all the estate issues.
Yeah, I'm dealing with the same thing. Mine
so
died a month ago.
Yeah, well.
So it's a motherfucker.
They just won't get me done, so I don't know where my bills are going to end up.
You got to get I actually had to get 2 other lawyers to get on top of the state lawyer to get anything done.
I got 3 of them now. I have a legal.
It does not make me feel too good about my situation.
Well, and I'm not. It wasn't like you were breaking up Standard Oil when you were doing my.
Yeah.
That's the people who are like, oh well, it's like no. That's why they need some of the laws changed. Pennsylvania, it's 5% flat, and if you own something with a parent, you're paying it on their half. It's people think, oh, it's a family thing. They don't care.
Yeah, I know.
And I was paying all the bills. You know, I'm taxes.
She
all
was
the
a
taxes are in my name. All the
Yeah.
utilities are in my name. The property's half in my name. I have to fight over that half because I don't want the properties have gone up.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that's, you could do 2-3 hours on that with an accountant and people would probably thank you because during this whole thing, that's what I said to, you know, Rustin and some other people, you got to look at this as like you've been locked up and you make your time what you make of it. Everybody else is fucking around, eating. They're like, oh, I put on 75 pounds. I've been losing it because before this, I had an issue with a couple medical issues. I couldn't even walk. So I put on weight from depression and I figured, oh, is this cancer drilling away this other way?
One thing after another.
And then you just say, well, if I don't take care of it, nobody else is going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's why I said with you doing your show, congratulations, because you're doing more than half the people are doing. And it's so much easier to just, you know, where we're from, they would prefer to hate.
Of course.
Than they would to do. And that's what and luckily that's what I like about Florida, at least where I am. You'll hear like, oh, that guy's got a crazy scheme. The point is they're still trying.
Yeah.
Everybody's still trying to find something to if it's reinventing yourself.
I would say reinventing because you go back home, the same people are doing the same shit that they did 20 years ago. Nothing changes. You know, it's cloudy, it's dreary, it's not.
Oh, I couldn't. I went back. It was rainy and damp, and it affected I got like 75% of arthritis. Yeah. And I was like the Tin Woodsman in that thing. I called him up. I called Rustin on the phone. I was like, oh, I can't even stand up.
I used to be able to ride a bike in a wife beater in 40 degrees. Now it's 60. I'm freezing to death.
It's well, it's like I said, they're in a big depression up there, and those people are actually between. It's psychological.
Yeah.
You know,
no, that's what I mean.
It's like
you wake up every day, it's cloudy, it's rainy,
and it was
it's you know, like sleet. I mean,
it was like Stockholm syndrome with half of them.
And then everybody's just doing the same shit, not taking care of themselves. They look like shit. They all look like shit. I don't know.
Well, it's
anyway.
It's because you're stuck down here now. You're saying, oh my God, that girl has more than 5 extra pounds on her. Throw her into an oven somewhere. You know? Throw her into a chipper. Is there a chipper around we can put her in?
You know, before I let you get out of here, before I moved down here, you'll die when I tell you this. I was debating California or Florida, and I wanted California because I liked at the time. This is 2014. Mm-hmm. And I liked California because I liked the Lakers. I used to go to the games all the time. So I was going to go to California, but I had a business. Mm-hmm. And when I saw the business tax in California and everything else, no thank you. So I came to Florida. Now, thank God I came to Florida because can you imagine being in fucking California right now?
Oh.
I'd have to move again.
Well, like you said,
I would have moved again.
I went there in like 92 because we were doing screen work, and the one fella had gotten a job in a boutique agency because they were just starting to kick in. Yeah. Because that was still when you knew what an actor cost. They still had the list. Yeah. So I knew what a guy was going to cost. These days they don't do. But I'm looking at yours and I'm thinking of Stratton's. If you remember Stratton's Club in L.A., that was near was that Bar near, 1. Remember that was a bunch of New York guys were involved in that. Yeah. That was where Mickey Rourke was in trouble. Yeah. It's giant piles of cocaine.
It's down by the steak place. Yeah. What's the steak place called on the end? Pier.
I know you're talking. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
But at Stratton's, a lot of the guys would stand there at the bar like this, and I'm like, "What's that about?" So he said, "The girls can see what they're wearing." Yeah. Because the girls are like little jewelers. Yeah. And this is a regular nightclub bar. Yeah. Well, it's not a thing, and they're like, "Oh, let me float over here." And we had Richard Grieco there. That'll tell you the time period. Yeah. Richard Grieco was still pulling ass out of that place. Now he has to do it with a gun or something.
Hey, you got a Pepsi one. Yeah. And then
you want to hide it. He had like his motorcycle out front. He'd ride his motorcycle, and then he'd bring it in because he was going to drink. Yeah. And then he'd go home with whatever impressionable 21 Jump Street girl he found. I never saw the show, but he must have done well with it because I don't know how much work he's getting. But
all right, thank you, Rustin. Thank you, Rustin, for bringing him in. My man, Rustin. Thank you very much, Frank, for your time.
Okay.
I hope you come back.
Yeah. I hope I passed the audition.